For a second, I thought I didn't.
Hi, welcome to our stream tonight on the Gory B Live show. Tonight we're going to be talking about autism and horror. I think it's really interesting that, or really awesome that horror, actually first, guys, let me know in the chat if you can hear me, because I am using a new system today. I hope that you can hear me and you can hear my guests. If there are any problems, let me know in the chat and I'll fix it. But yeah, I think horror is awesome because it attracts people from all different walks of life, from all over the world, all ages. It's something that is shared just universally. It's awesome. Oh, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can hear you.
You had your hands up like, Gory, no.
There's
You're
some,
going into the darkness.
Feedback.
There's feedback? Okay, everything's good. Okay. So, but what's interesting, I think, is when you talk to people who are from different walks of life and seeing how they...
Ariel, I think, is trying to talk.
Yeah, I'll get her in here in just a second. Let me finish introducing everything.
Okay.
When you talk to people from different walks of life, you find out how horror appeals to them, what it means to them. And oftentimes it's really different. And I also think, you know, that's why I want to do these streams. I want to talk to different groups of horror people and learn about how it's affected them, why it appeals to them, look at representation, because I think it's really important that everybody can see themselves represented in their favorite genre. So tonight we're going to be talking about autism and horror, and I have three very awesome guests. I'm going to try to get my third guest in here. Here she is. Okay. I'm going to get her in here right now, live, because it's all live. Okay. Ariel, you there?
Yeah, I'm there.
Sorry for the trouble. I'm going to squeeze you over here by Mike. You guys are going to get real cozy. Is that cool? Look at that. You guys are best friends already. I'm happy. Ariel, long-time watcher of the show. First time on the show. I'm pretty excited. Ariel has a YouTube channel. My friend Mike and I go way back. Oh, Ariel, do you have headphones?
Yeah.
Are you wearing... Maybe it's me that's kind of in the feedback. Oh, somebody's watching the stream. Pause the... Mute the stream, Ariel.
Okay.
There.
Okay, there we go. Yes? Good. Okay. So, yeah, Ariel has watched the show for a long time. My friend Mike and I go way back to, God, like middle school at least. Right, Mike? Long time. Time friends.
Decades.
Very many decades. And
Yes.
If you have been watching this show a long time, you have seen him before. I've killed him at least once. He's a great actor. And my buddy Arkham Knight Rider, who I met through Letterboxd, one of my favorite platforms. He posts incredible reviews, and it hosts the Crap Movie Collective every month and is on YouTube. So guys, you know, say hi, introduce yourselves, talk about, you know, whatever.
Arkham Knight Rider. I was a horror fan, so also a horror fan, kaiju fan, Transformers fan. I do mainly reviews on Letterboxd. I kind of end up over Perspective, which is a weekly thing where we're assigned to watch movies. Usually not very good, but yeah. So that's my thing. Autism, although I mentioned it, but you know, yeah, really happy to be here today.
My name's Michael. I'm a local schmuck that Haley knows. That's pretty much it. And yes, I do have autism, and I do love awful horror movies. They're the best.
It's wonderful.
And
Ariel.
I think she muted herself.
Uh-oh.
Oh yeah, no. You muted yourself, Ariel. I think
there, she's back.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, Ariel, introduce yourself.
My name's Ariel. I was born in 91. And I started watching every horror TV show when I was a kid. What? I'm talking to my friends! Sorry, Corey.
I'm so sorry. I am causing turmoil in your household. I am like a black cat. I will just give you bad luck for days.
So, like I was saying, my name is Ariel. I was born in 91. And I started watching every horror shows. Like, I started watching Tales from the Crypt.
Ariel, hun, we're getting a lot of echo from your end.
I think the problem is that we're hearing playing this.
Yeah.
I think mute the video you're watching, but not not you. And hopefully this time I can actually hear me, because apparently people have issues with my audio, but
Sorry, I just had to poke my tablet.
That's not an issue. Can anyone hear me?
I can hear you.
Alright, in the chat, can anyone hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Alright, now I'm talking about the chat, I'm not talking about Ariel. But thank you though.
Is that better?
Yes, it's
I can hear all of you.
Yeah.
There's just an echo.
Okay, my name's Ariel. I was born in 91. And I started watching one of my favorite horror shows. Like, I started watching Tales from the Crypt. You guys seen this show?
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna...
A few times.
Guys, let me know. Can you hear them now?
Yeah, can you
I think you should be fine now.
Well, I gotta mute this. I gotta mute the TV.
Okay,
it's better?
A few times.
Yeah, we can still hear your audio.
Yeah, can you
I think you should be fine now.
Alright, now I can hear me. Yeah, I think I can.
Ariel, can you just join us in the chat? Because I can't get your audio stuff to work out. Is that okay?
I'm already in the chat.
Yeah, but your audio's bad, so I'm going to take you off the stream, okay?
Wait, what?
I can't... You have like an echo? I don't know what to do.
Oh no, I think so Ariel, where are you watching the stream? Because it's clearly that you're watching the stream. I can know it's because of the dislocation.
My tablet. What?
All right, your tablet. Okay. So go to the YouTube settings. On the YouTube stream, mute the volume on the YouTube. So Ariel, where are you watching?
Ariel, I'll talk to you later, okay?
Better.
Yes.
Better?
So far it's better. Yes. Yes, it's better.
Gory, it's not you. It's just my tablet.
I know, honey. It's okay. Don't worry. Okay, are we all good, guys?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I am so sorry for the rough start. Technical difficulties, a new software. Sometimes the technology gods are against us. Getting started. I think everyone can hear everybody. Let me know in the chat.
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, so I'm going to give you guys kind of a little brief history of the relationship.
Hold on. You haven't. Hold on. You haven't started my intro yet.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. My name's Ariel. I was born in 91. I started watching every horror shows when I was a kid. Like, I started watching Tales from the Crypt. And I remember watching all 3 horror shows, like, their kid versionary. I started watching Are You Afraid of the Dark that my sister won't let me. Her name's Roxanne. I remember seeing the book called Goosebumps, and it was like a horror kid anthology. Oh, and I remember that one live-action Saturday morning called the Bone Chillers.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. Did you know that woman who wrote those books her name was Betsy Haynes, and she wrote all the books? The Bone Chiller books?
Oh, very cool.
No, I did not. Thank you.
That's very interesting. Yes.
And
Very
and my favorite MST3K host is Mike and Jonah.
Oh, I like I've met Jonah. He's very nice.
Did you know he was in Victor Crowley?
No, I did not.
Yeah, I know. And I started watching hold on a sec. I'm trying to think of the name of that full moon movie. Yes. No, I haven't started yet. Yes, Dollman versus Demonitoys. This was like one movie of me that I remember. I saw it on Cinemax. Did you guys seen that?
I have seen
yes,
that.
I saw that as a kid. It's one of the first full moon movies I watched, along with Puppet Master 5. So, yes.
Oh, man.
I want to talk to you guys about a lot of movies. So I'm going to get started with...
and my favorite final girl is Megan from Evil Tunes.
Very cool. Very cool. Very cool indeed.
Nice.
All right. You guys ready?
Yeah.
Okay. So all my guests today are autistic. Yes?
Mm-hmm.
They all love horror films. Yes?
Yes.
So they can give you insight on this that I can't give you. I can give you research. I do have 2 cousins who have autism, and one of my good friends' son has autism, and we lived together and helped each other raise our kids for a while. So, I am familiar with it. I've tried to do a lot of research, but these guys are the experts on autism, and they're going to hopefully be able to help us understand horror from an autistic person's perspective better. So autism, the term was first used in 1911, but psychiatrists and physicians really didn't start talking about it until the 40s and the 50s. 1943 was the first time it was really described. And even then, they didn't have a very good understanding of what it was. They were describing it as sort of like childhood schizophrenia. So even though they were discussing it, it wasn't autism the way we know it today. It didn't really become better understood and widely diagnosed until much later. So our early examples of characters who can be coded as autistic.
Tablet.
Our early examples are more coded ones where they're not exactly, nobody ever says the character's autistic, but they're coded. So they're characters that have been read as autistic by people who have studied film, and notably by people who are autistic who studied film. So a couple of them I wanted to talk about were Cat People and Curse of the Cat People. So
hold on a sec, Gory.
Something wrong? Uh-oh, she's gone.
Oh yeah, no, she.
Uh-oh. Okay. Sorry. Hopefully we can get her back. By the way, I never did say hi to everybody in the chat. My apologies. I did see Mummy B Movie is here. Guys, I'm so sorry. Just a lot of technical difficulties today. Hopefully we get Ariel back. My Chunky Jordy, one of the nicest people, nicest comments I get are from My Chunky Jordy. Firefrost, I've never seen you here before, but welcome to the Gory Hole. Of course, Tatum Rose, who is the best moderator ever. Like, she posts the link. She is so supportive. She's so awesome. Razor Rex, lots of good friends here. Noodle Pasta, Torchbearer Iron, friend from Crypticon. So nice to see you guys all here. So yeah, have you guys seen the 1940s, 1942 Cat People or 1944 Curse of the Cat People?
I saw Cat People this week, because archive.org had it. Someone had, like,
Notably, Cat People is kind of credited as the first great jump scare. There's that moment where she's outside waiting, and you think the cat is going to pounce on her any second down, and you hear it, and it's a bus. Great jump scare.
Oh yeah,
It's
the
called the Luton bus.
the brushling, but I don't know words very well. The brushling, the brush. I keep saying brush, but maybe bush.
Yeah, it's great. This one was a little interesting to me. I read a few different articles from people who are autistic who studied film. And now, if you're not familiar, like I don't think Mike's seen it. If you're not familiar, okay, this is going to get weird, guys. If you're not familiar, Cat People is about a woman who, the original one is about a woman who is married this man. She's an immigrant. And she won't let her husband kiss her. She won't let him touch her. Everyone talks about how weird she is. They don't get her. She's so strange. She's weird with the animals. She seems to connect with the animals better than she connects with people, especially cats. And the reason why in the movie is because if she is sexually aroused, she will turn into a panther. And then the only way for her to turn back into a human would be to kill somebody. So you can read it as the narrative, as she doesn't want to turn into a panther. But a lot of people have read this as somebody who's autistic, who is very overwhelmed by being touched, by being like pawed at. Like, she's just like, okay, back off. The animals respect me. The animals give me my space. We get each other. You and I not getting each other. And, even though she's just interacting with the world in a different way, everyone is treating her like there's something wrong with her. So, what are your guys' thoughts on this film?
I could see it.
Mike, your face. I think I've upset Mike.
No, it sounds like a wonderful film.
It's actually great. It's really great. It got a great remake in the 80s.
They remade everything in the 80s.
I am actually a remake from something before the 80s.
It sounds like Arkham, what did you think of it?
Oh, well, I thought it.
By the way, I love your outfit.
Thank you. Wait, okay, so I'm going to split it between movie and representation, because I think both seem to interconnect, but it is kind of like one lapis as I learned, because both can interconnect, but both are separate at the same time. Mm-hmm. So as a film, I don't know. As a representation, it'll be fun. It'll be fun.
Yeah.
It'll be cool. All right. Bye.
You okay?
No problem. As a movie, that's all right. I don't know. I'm not huge into most 40s cinema for various fancy reasons. But in terms of, it's a fine enough. I just think the limitations of that era, particularly the 30s to the late 30s, well, mid the last half of the mid, when the Hays Code was put in. Let's make it simpler. Did restrict a lot, so you could tell it was just kind of, you could have been more, but it just was being held back.
That's why the 80s one's wonderful, because this is a movie that is largely about sexuality, but it's so repressed. But I do think they did a good job. But I can understand it doesn't have to be for everyone, dude. It's absolutely fine if you didn't like it. Mostly I'm concerned, like I'm curious, as somebody who has autism, is Irina a character you were able to connect with?
Yes, it's a film from the 40s, 1942. There was a remake of it in 1982. There was also, we'll get to another film later that's a sequel to it. But yes, as a movie, it's just, for me, it was okay. As a representation of autism, I didn't quite see it that way, but learning the representation, um, like trying to, as now knowing this, I was able to kind of figure, I could kind of see it, but I don't know. For me
It's
personally,
so
I put on the
coded.
list.
Coded as in like they don't ever say it because
Fine by
it's
me.
early. But did I cut you off, Arkham?
Oh no, Ariel was talking a minute ago.
Oh, yes, Ariel, I'm so sorry. I've tried. I'm just gonna have to have you on a different stream, because we only have so much time. So, we have a lot to talk about. But next time we'll meet a little bit earlier and work out all the audio kinks. Really sorry, Ariel. Really sorry. But yeah, we will definitely stream again soon. But yeah, Arkham, don't worry about it.
Right.
So yeah, I think a lot of these early movies, I mean, there's some that I didn't even see, but I can, movies that I relate to as somebody who just, I think you can watch a lot of old movies and kind of see something in them that maybe wasn't intended, but is there, and it can be meaningful. One I think that actually does fit, and it was used by a lot of different articles, was Curse of the Cat People. Really underrated, unseen sequel. They shouldn't have called it Curse of the Cat People. Originally, I think it was supposed to be called Amy and Her Friend, which is more fitting. This isn't even really a horror movie. It's a drama. And Irina, the Catwoman from the first one, has passed away. But her husband lives on. He's married his friend, and they have a daughter. That's Irina's daughter. But this character, in many ways, has a lot of autistic traits that people have pointed out. Like, she has a very strong internal world. So, she feels things and interacts with things deeply, but it's all within herself. And like, she loves animals and nature. And they all say that she's very absent-minded or imaginative, but they're just not quite understanding that she's just interacting with the world differently. And her father, I think something that a lot of the articles I read brought up is her father really just wants her to be like other kids. He wants her to play and be just like everybody else, but she's not like everybody else. Finally, when the ghost of her mother, she asked for a friend. And it's so sad because she asked for a friend to make her dad happy. It's her birthday wish. She wants to be good and she wants to make friends because she knows dad doesn't accept me. And I think that's something a lot of autistic people deal with, is this idea that they are broken and they need to be fixed to make other people happy. Not for themselves, it's to appease other people. And that's what she does. And then her mother comes and her mother gets her and accepts her and she's happy. And her dad's happy too, but he doesn't understand what's going on. He just is happy with the outside version of it. So the outside version of it is she's behaving normally. He's no longer interested. And, the movie goes a lot further from there, but it deals with a lot of like loneliness and isolation. And I think especially like the idea of like parents not accepting their children for the people that they are is something that's resonated with a lot of people. So guys, even if you haven't seen this movie, like, are these themes and stuff that you deal with?
Basically, because Ariel's not on this. Unfortunately, she's not visible on the stream, but she is in the chat. She's still in the stream, so kind of. So basically, what she basically said was,
in the chat.
No, she's not in the chat. She's on the stream still. She's on Streamlabs, still. She's not live Streamlabs, even though she's not on the stream itself. She's not visible on the stream.
Oh, so you can still see her? Because I can't see her.
I can still see her. I think Mike can still see her. Yeah, no.
I don't know what to do.
you may, Ariel, you may want to try to leave and come back again. Just trying to suggest that because sometimes when I have that problem, when it comes to these things, that's how it works. I could be again. That's just how I.
Ariel, hun, yeah, let's just leave the group for now and worry about it later because we're moving past that. Okay, I'll have you on a different stream. I can't see you, so I can't have a conversation with you. So can you please just let her know to just hang up or whatever, and we'll talk some other time because there's nothing else I can do.
Yeah, no, it's just I think the suggestion for now, Ariel, is to try to lead the stream. Maybe you and Gory could do something similar later or something along those lines, because there's like some weird audio things, and I don't know if it's your end, but I don't know. That's just what's going on.
Is she okay with that? I can't even talk to her, so.
She says it's fine.
Okay, I'll
right,
talk to her later. I am really sorry, but we'll work it out. But yeah, let's, we can still have a good stream, and we'll have Ariel on another time because I know she's got lots of good insights about movies. So, yeah, I can't even remember what I asked you.
You were asking me about, like, even if I haven't seen the movie, Curse the Cat People, which I have not. From what you've told me, what do you think it sounds in terms of representation? Me and Michael, that
it definitely sounds like something that I do deal with. Like missing the social cues, and like when people are trying to send me obvious hints and it goes right over my head.
Yeah. I mean, I think to some extent, like, I don't quite. I mean, I know there's autistic kids out there definitely who have been like, well, you need to be more like a normal kid kind of thing. I mean, my folks don't do that quite. Like, they, obviously I need to be taught, like, how to act in society, obviously. But, because stuff like that, I'm still working on that stuff. But it is, again, maybe it's just my more background. I understand that, and I know not every. And one of the things I have to realize is not every situation. One thing I'm going to clarify here, very obviously, is not just because I have experienced it doesn't mean someone with autism did not.
Well, yeah,
and that's why I'm going to be not just using my experiences.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine.
I'm gonna not only am I going to be using my experiences, but also going to be experiences from other people with autism. I'm not going to name names because privacy, and I respect the privacy of others. Which is why I'm not using names. But yeah, no, from what I've heard from other people, this seems to be a similar-ish case from what I've heard. Again, not quite with me because, well, I definitely have been my parents and help. People have been trying to help me, have been like, trying to help me with how to interact with society. I haven't gone to, oh, you have to be just like a normal kid, being like every other normal guy. Like, no. So I haven't quite gone there. But yeah, no. That's again, I can't judge the movie fully. I can only judge what you've said about it. Again, I don't know if that's helps.
I mean, everybody who has autism is a unique individual. And I think that's one of the problems we're going to talk about later in this stream is a lot of movies present one kind of autistic person. And there is a whole spectrum of people who have autism. And, just like anybody else, you guys are unique individuals. And, something that might resonate with you may not resonate with somebody else. But, you guys are big horror fans. So I'm really curious to know what does resonate with you and like how you feel about this stuff. So I think those were really good answers, guys. Awesome. So in the 1970s, I'm really excited. So I did a lot of research in this. I went down this whole I've been watching nothing but, oh God, I am, on behalf of horror, I've never made a horror movie, but I'm sorry. Autism has been so poorly represented in horror, especially in the beginning. Actually, Curse of the Cat People, which isn't even an official one. Like, I think that one's pretty good, but it's so much better than the ones that actually mention autism. So a lot of people think the first movie to mention autism, it's widely credited online, is Rain Man, which that's a whole ball of wax we'll get into. But actually, I think horror did it first, guys. Horror did it first. No, it deserves no applause. No applause.
May I ask what the movie might be?
2 of them in 1977, and yes, this girl watched them because I love you guys. There's 2. Actually, the first one's not terrible. The title's terrible. Movie, it's not, as far as autistic representation goes. It's Tarantulas, the Deadly Cargo, a TV movie from 1977. A bunch of tarantulas get dropped off in the wrong place,
Sure.
and there's only a small part that deals with autism. So the spiders are the tarantulas making their way towards the school for autistic children, which they want you to see this big sign here that says school for autistic children. And it's so weird. It's like a military. They're not dressed like in a special uniform or nothing, but this guy's wearing a whistle. He's like whistling and they're like, hut, hut. I'm like, oh my God, what kind of school is this? So you're really worried that these spiders are going to kill these poor children, which they don't really have a lot to do. They end up killing out the couple making out because they have Jason Voorhees sensibilities.
Yeah.
But after the spider kills the couple, it actually finds one of the students who, she's nonverbal. It's typical way autistic people are presented in especially early movies. The kind of stereotypical nonverbal, but she is very curious about the spider. The spider doesn't hurt her, and then it's taken away, and that's it. That's it. So, school for autistic children, tarantula. Now we're gonna get to a really offensive one.
Yes.
Oh boy. Exorcist the Heretic. Not only was it a crime against cinema, it was a crime against autistic people. So.
Oh yeah, I remember you posting about this. I completely forgot that scene happened, but then again, the only thing I remember about that movie is James Earl Jones in a giant cricket costume. So
it's also offensive to Locust. It's also offensive to James Earl Jones. This movie is offensive to everybody. Nobody came out unscathed. Nobody. So the scene in question, it's a very short one. This movie proposes, unlike the first one, which said that God chose Reagan as a vessel, or not God, the devil chose Reagan as a vessel to make us despair, to make us see people as animal and ugly, and make us think that God couldn't possibly love us as creatures. No, the second one's like, no, God chooses people who are good of heart and have magic powers. Or no, the devil chooses people who are good of heart. Guys, I'm Wiccan, or I'm not great with all this Catholic stuff. The devil chooses people who are good of heart and have magic powers. Essentially, they are Care Bears. Reagan has the power to heal people by talking to them. She doesn't even have to do a Care Bear stare. It's pretty miraculous. So there's this poor autistic girl, which it's already presented really poorly because the other kids are like pawing at her and stuff all the time, which no human being I know would tolerate that. Needless to say, not somebody who has autism. So she's more like acting catatonic, which is a completely different condition. Later on, Reagan talks to her and she's like, oh, I didn't notice there was anything different about you. And she's like, I'm autistic. And she's like, oh, what does that mean? She's like, I'm withdrawn. Totally not the definition of autism. And they're like, oh my God, you're speaking. You are miraculously cured of autism.
Well, I mean, if that was the case, then I should have been cured ages because look at me, this situation. I mean, I spoke. I'm speaking. Yeah, no, I don't remember the scene very well, but then again, I don't remember the movie very well. But yeah, no, I think I ended up rewatching that particular scene. Not great.
It's bad. One, obviously there's no cure for autism. I mean, that to say there's a cure for autism, like I would compare it to basically it's like saying there's a cure for like, being gay, like that's why conversion camps don't work. You either are or you're not. You're autistic or you're not.
Yep.
You can learn how to better interact with the world and ways to help you get by, but you're autistic. That's part of who you are. It's not a disease to be cured. It's just there are people who are autistic. Am I misunderstanding that?
No, you're not. Autism is just kind of a thing that you either. I mean, again, there's some people who hate it. There's like, I don't want to be autistic, or I hate this. Or some people who love it, and then it's just how it is, and the severity of it depends upon case to case. And like you talk, so clearly she's been cured of all problems is dumb.
It's so dumb. It's so dumb. It's a trope we're going to talk about a lot more. The idea that autism is a problem that can be cured. It can't be. Actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and we'll dive into that trope right now. So there are a lot of movies where their happy ending is that the autistic person behaves in a way that is not how they normally interact with the world at the end of the movie, and that's the happy ending. So Exorcist 2 absolutely does that. Like the mom doesn't even want to talk to the shrink. She wants to get her home right away because the girl's father wants to hear her talk, and it's like everything's fixed now, and that's just not how it works.
My mom said they asked my mother what my first 10 words wanted. She wanted my first 10 words to be, and she said, "Ask him what he wants to eat." So, which it's a little bit more complicated than the withdrawing that they were saying. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a lot more complicated. Another one I saw very recently, which, a shorter example would be Rose Red. So Rose Red has a girl who has autism. It's a Stephen King one, and this plays into another trope we'll get into. But she is mostly nonverbal. She speaks very rarely. She's psychic, which we'll talk about that. But yeah, she doesn't really touch people and stuff. And so at the end of the movie, she gives someone a big hug, and it's like this big moment to be celebrated. And it's like, wait a second, she doesn't like touching people. It overwhelms her. So if she's hugging someone at the end, she's doing that for other people. She hasn't changed as a person. She is learning how to fake it to make other people happy. That is not a happy ending.
I mean, that whole movie was just that whole movie was just not fun to watch.
It's way too long.
Oh, it definitely is way too long for like the 90-minute story it is.
But do you guys have limitations, like parts of, things like that, like not wanting to make eye contact or touch somebody that you deal with?
It's a little hard. On the eye contact thing, it's just I can't really do eye contact too well. Even if I want to, it's just kind of it's just how I am. The touching thing, I don't mind too much. I mean, if you're a stranger, I mean, that's the obvious no. Family member, again, it's more of a mood thing. For me, it's more of like a mood thing. I mean, if I'm in a good mood, I'm more obvious about it, more willing to talk and do all that. If I'm in a bad mood, you can tell. Also, I'm just more willing to be more isolated and kind of like by myself.
I can't be really touched.
Yeah. So if you were, say you had a relative where they're like, we really, really want Mike to give us a big hug. If you did that, it's not making you feel good.
Oh, no. Sorry. Oh, that's Mike.
Exactly. That's what's going on with this little girl.
Yeah, I would be screaming on the inside. I assume she would be too. I mean, I kind of get why it would be kind of a okay ending, because she is learning to overcome that, to put others' communications needs ahead of her own personal needs. But yeah, she's about to go into a world that she's not prepared for.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not much different. Like, I think in our society, we basically propose that things like hugging are things that everybody has to like. But like some other things, like some people do not want you touching their face. I do not like anyone touching my face. I don't like anyone really touching my hair from behind. I don't like it. It gives me seizures. And I'm not autistic. It's just personal preference things. And I think that's how we kind of have to look at this stuff. Like, if I allowed it, it's just because I'm tolerating it. It's not because I've changed as a person. And that's in these movies, that's how it works.
I'm losing my hair, so there's not that much to touch, but I understand.
Yeah. Another one, which it was offensive for a lot of different reasons, but Mother, came out in 2017. This one, a woman has a severely autistic son who doesn't speak, is very, like, he has a lot of fits and such. He has a massive fit in a supermarket, throwing things around, throwing himself around. And a woman comes up and she's just able to talk to him in a language he's never heard before. He instantly knows Filipino. He instantly knows her language, and she turns him night and day to like a completely different person. She basically cures his autism. Not only does she cure his autism, but she tells the parents and his doctors that she also cured her kid of autism. And they're like, oh, that's so interesting. Not, lady, you're full of crap.
Oh no, you see, you gotta understand. They. Well, no, wait. I mean, the movieverse, that would be a bad thing for the doctors because they can't get money. If you think about it, you got to. You have to think about it for a second. Wouldn't that be a bad thing? Because you get all the money from seeing this kid and dealing with their problems. You have to pay the fees. If you have someone just well, I mean, you could probably say the doctor could use it. I'm just more so I guess so wait, the doctor I haven't seen the movie. Did they try to capitalize on this woman's gifts, or is it just well that's cool, you cured autism, cool? Or because again, I don't know, I haven't seen it. Is that what happened?
Well, eventually you find out she did it with voodoo.
Ah.
Your guys' faces. I'm so sorry. It's I didn't even make the movie, and I'm sorry.
I know. I was more asking, did the doctors try to cash in on it? Because that's usually
the doctors act like that is a normal thing. They act like autism is something that a person can grow out of or be. And it's this is something that's never happened before in the history of ever. It's not like a childhood, thing.
I was just thinking. I was thinking the way you set it up is kind of or at least most. Again, I'm going this by movie structure, not real life structure. Real life structure. No, well, that the stuff she was doing
training.
Is the doctor. If we're going by movie structure, plot lines, you would have that kind of that gift. He has the gift to cure autism, and the doctor, hey, let's we could use that kind of thing. There's a monetary gain.
I think that's what I would have liked the doctors to respond more oh my gosh, this has never happened before. This is amazing. How did this happen? Yeah. What did you do? Instead, they're yeah, that happens sometimes that nannies come in, start speaking a different language, kids cured.
That would probably
they use the power of voodoo to cure your son's autism. Yeah, makes perfect sense. In every way, not at all stupid.
But I think there's something kind of dangerous about that, because I think sometimes people can watch a movie, they get ideas, and they're like, well, my condition can be cured, and there's a lot of conditions that can't be cured. And I think it's the idea that something like that can be cured is really dangerous, both for people who have those conditions and for parents. Parents are well, then I need to cure my kid. This is, for anything, there are some things you just have to accept. Your child is asthmatic. Your child has autism. Your child, it's in some way different. And if you don't accept them, then you're essentially isolating them to deal with something challenging by themselves, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my mother had, when she was raising me, she grew up in I grew up in the 1980s, 40 years ago. God.
Me too, dude.
And so she had to go through this whole thing, and she didn't know anything. I don't think they even told her what I had. And so she had to go through it step by step. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's kind of really offensive about that cure thing. I mean, especially the doctors just going, oh, well, sometimes that happens.
And your mom is also an advocate for autism, right?
Yes, she is.
Mine as well.
I remember she used to do a lot of speaking in town and stuff. And your mom too, Arkham?
My mom, she does a lot, because one of the things is she did a lot of research. She's been trying to help me. She's been advocating for me to get not really help help, I guess, we communicate, so I don't walk down the road without looking, stuff like that. Stuff like that. And she's been helping people, certain people understand who I am and try to accept me. This was especially common during classes. Certain classes, had that. But yeah, no, my mom has been very, accepting of me, and very kind and supportive. So yeah, no, this sounds absolutely wretched. I'm kind of glad I skipped this one out. Actually, I kind of glad I skipped out. I wish I skipped out almost everything I watched.
It's also just really offensive and xenophobic. I mean, it's really just. Now
where's the xenophobic
anyone who
part
watches
coming
this
in?
movie is going to think, well, I shouldn't hire a Filipino nanny because she's going to do my kid. At the end of it, she steals the children. It's bad. It's a bad movie, guys. But we're going to talk about the good. We're going to talk about the bad. We're going to talk about
So she basically becomes the Pied Piper, ostensibly.
Essentially, yes, she steals autistic
Well-
children.
Well, in all fairness, they at least, allude or say the condition, which is a slight upgrade.
It's a slight upgrade compared to some other films. Yes. Some films will be.
I hope that there is some
Sharp
progression
Exorcist.
here.
Oh, sorry.
Oh,
What
sorry.
was it?
So 1980s. Now this is back when young Mike and I were born. The world got better, guys. Okay, so 1980s. Me and Mike were born. Pretty much anything before that we really didn't need to cover. Yeah. Only a couple decades later, we'd be buddies. Still our buddies. But yeah. So the movie Rain Man won a lot of awards. Oh, nuts.
What happened?
Oh, I had this alert thing that's supposed to work, but oh well. Do want to thank Fairpoint Station for the generous donation. I had these alerts that were supposed to work, but oh well. Anyway, thank you so much for the donation. He says, great topic and great guest. I do have very good guests today. They are awesome.
We try sometimes. No.
Yeah, sometimes.
There, it's supposed to do that. It's supposed to do the little gizmo for you. Oh well, I'll look into it. Technical difficulties. Anyway, so a movie called Rain Man came out with Dustin Hoffman and Tom Cruise, won a lot of awards. And I think that's when autism became more widely known amongst just regular, people who had never encountered anybody with the condition before. And it also created the magical savant autistic trope. A lot of people believe that everybody who has autism you can drop a box of matches and they can just count them. That's magic. That's savantism. And interestingly, the character in Rain Man was based on a real man. His name was Kim Peek. And it was later determined that he's not even autistic. So the most recognized autistic character in cinema wasn't even autistic. He actually had FG syndrome, which is something completely different. But Rain Man really affected movies, including horror movies, which is why we talked about it. Because in a lot of horror movies, they have the same tics that this character has. They behave the same way. And they're magic. So let's talk about some magical autistic people. Guys, by the way, are you magic?
Well, I wish I was. If that was the case, I could get a lot of things done. But no, unfortunately. I mean, if I was magic, I would have a few things that I don't have. Like, for example, my brain's blanking because my brain
Can you talk to dead people? Because a lot of the people in these movies can.
No, I can't talk to dead people.
I can't talk to, dead people outside of my head, but, that's...
I mean, the voices, if you think about it for too long, I guess voices do count as dead people. So,
Fair enough. We also got another 666 super chat, which, by the way, I love that. Thank you, Fairpoint. It's from Kate Tatum. Thank you, Tatum. So here are some more examples. I'm going to go into this magical autistic person trope a little bit more. Especially, Stephen King also does this. Not even just he just does this with children or any other kind of disabled person. A lot of times if he has a child or a disabled person, they have magical powers. So The Shining, I think Danny Torrance, I read him as having autistic traits. He's not actually autistic, though they do mention that he might be autistic in the book. So that is part of why I've included it here. But yeah, he has The Shining, which is a very, very powerful gift. He also used it in Rose Red. Not only is the little girl gifted, she is the most gifted psychic. And that's who this woman, who's a parapsychologist, wants to wake up the house of Rose Red. Because this autistic girl, she also has telekinesis, like Carrie. She causes a rain of stones, guys. Rain of stones.
I mean, I've gotten stoned before, but not like that.
I had rocks hit at me when I moved to America. There's a boy who used to throw rocks at me, so maybe
not
I'm
me,
magic.
guys.
I have never been hit with stones in my life, so
glad.
I'm glad that I've not.
Jeremy
I can
Fuller. Do
imagine.
you remember Jeremy Fuller from school?
Oh my god.
That's the kid.
Yes.
That's the kid. He was a dick. Oh my god.
He
Sorry.
was.
Wrong.
He was just this
Memories.
gigantic ass.
I thought you were saying like trying to name an actor. For a second, like Jeremy. Oh, not an actor.
He was this little shit that was just an asshole. I'll just put it that way.
Oh, there's plenty of people I knew that I had issues with. I just don't feel like giving them any attention on this stream. So.
Firestarter's another Stephen King example. I'm not autistic, but she is a little girl who can make fire. Dreamcatcher is another one with an adult man. In the book, he has Down syndrome. In the movie, seems more like he's supposed to have autism. He's an alien.
Oh yeah, that. Okay, I've been waiting for this. Well, this is one I've been waiting for. There's several here that I've been waiting to discuss.
Hit me with it.
So, this is what I've always hated for this reason. So basically, you got this disabled kid. He's being beaten up by the bullies. So this group of kids is like, hey, stop doing that. And he gives them all powers because, of course, that's how they all. That's why our main cast of characters gets powers. And then, because of course, the stereotype of there seems to be only like several because it's not too far off. A lot of autistic kids love cartoons, but it seems like the only cartoons most kids either made up or Scooby-Doo. And of course, we got to have him say, whatever the line was from Scooby-Doo. I haven't watched Scooby-Doo since I was a kid.
Which one? My son's obsessed with Scooby-Doo.
Okay, it's the line that the kid says sometime near the movie where he's like, oh jeez,
Zoinks?
Not oinks. Forgot what again. I haven't seen the Dreamcatcher in a. Not Ruh-roh. It's not the thing that Scooby says. It's one of the let's solve something like solving a mystery or something. Or
let's solve a mystery.
I think that's what it is.
Let's split up and look for clues.
Yes, that's what it was.
I got it.
That was insulting. And then of course he metamorphosizes and he's an alien and he fights the weird slug anus creatures, whatever. Yes, he fights the weird slug creatures that go up people's butts. By the way, I don't know why they thought that was a good idea, but for some reason we really did need to see that. But I guess we did. So yeah, no, that was just it's the worst example case. I think it's the worst case of this. Reminds me of a few others. Just the absolute worst case scenario of if we get the acting. I don't think the guy was autistic. The actor, right?
The actor, no, it's.
Yes. I was gonna say. Well, there's a lot of things that I have to clarify when it comes to this because maybe the actor's autistic and being directed wrong. But in this case, you can tell the guy's not autistic. Mannerisms are just over exaggerated. The appearance is over exaggerated. You got the Scooby-Doo lunchbox and the let's solve mystery and find clues. And then you got now he's an alien. He gives magical powers to our cast and has to stop slugs or whatever. I did not care for Dreamcatcher in the slightest. I'd still rather watch it over Rose Red because at least Dreamcatcher, as horrible as it was entertainingly bad in places, whereas
I'm entertained by butt.
Rose Red was boring.
That scene where the monster comes out of the toilet,
yes,
cinema.
All those parents that show that to some kids.
Some parents
training goes out.
Some poor parent was like, I don't want. And then they saw I forgot the actor's name. I think it's the guy who's in the Chipmunks movies.
Jason Lee.
No, was it Jason Lee or yeah, it was Jason Lee. Jason Lee gets an alien up his rectum.
Yep.
That's that. It's either that Morgan Freeman's terrible. I could care less.
Ariel's a fan of that movie though, so that's cool.
I mean, that's fine if you like it.
I think it's entertaining. But there's a few other ones I want to mention. Did you catch Noise in the Middle?
I did not.
That one came out recently. She can see dead people. She has premonitions. Dark Floors, the most expensive movie that's ever come out of Finland, made by the band Lordi. It's all because the little girl has special powers, which Dark Floors is also, I thought messed up, and that you find out that the whole thing is basically it's kind of in her head.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I kind of like the movie.
That's
cool.
Mean,
it's definitely silly, but I think half the charm is just seeing basically the band members run around the hallway, in the abandoned hospital. What?
I would have been happier if it was Guar.
I have a special attachment to Lordy in particular. Like I was
Really?
a fan of. Yes, I love their songs when I was like in middle school / high school. So I have an attachment to them. That's why I like the movie as much as I probably do as I do, even if it's pretty generic in terms of horror movies go. But the just seeing them run around, goofily running around, is just kind of magical to me.
I've got to read this comment to you guys. Noodle Pasta says, I've been stoned, but not that kind of stoned. Love the wordplay. Bravo, boys. Another one, as far as, autistic kids are magic, is that's how we're going to say it. The Predator, which I think Predator, I'm not autistic, guys, but I feel like the Predator gives you kind of a backwards compliment. Because
I mean, we are the next evolutionary
You're the
phase
next
in humanity.
evolution.
Thanks, Olivia. That was a really good idea.
I got that, but that movie was just so jagged all over the place that even the characters that I was complimenting and you were going, good job, I was like, what the hell does that mean?
I mean, okay. I have the star. Some of these movies are not great. I like The Predator as a fun action film.
I like a lot
of
movies.
Although there's one problem, especially with the portrayal. So it was stated in the film, and it's not even the evolution. The evolution, I think, was just funny to me. The thing that was stupid was like, okay, this is just bad writing in general. Like not even funny bad is so the character is very obviously he's sensitive to sound. The kid, Thomas Jane's child, is sensitive to sound, and it's evident in the scene in the school classroom.
Yeah.
And in there's a big action scene, and all of a sudden he's totally fine with like just big explosions and gunfire, all the noises of ripping things apart. Like, okay, so so I guess they either forgot that, or they just it would be inconvenient to have him like doing this on the action scene. So it's I don't know. That film was, as much as I enjoyed, it's a mess.
And the kid cuts off a Predator's arm. But yeah, this kid in this movie played wonderfully by Jason Tremblay. I actually do enjoy the movie. Just because I'm pointing out that I think these movies represent autism poorly doesn't mean I dislike them. So please don't take it personally if you love these movies. I actually own a lot of these movies. I love them. But when I look at it from an autistic point of view, I feel bad, So yeah, the kid is exceptionally smart. He's able to understand Predator language and reprogram their technology with ease. And the movie is like, well, the Predators want him because usually the Predators get the strongest warriors. And in this one, they think the kid is because the kid is apparently the next evolution of human beings because of his autism.
Apparently well, I mean, I'm just as like, I mean, considering how bad their super predators have been, their super yachas, I'm expecting the yachas are like, well, sure, autistic kid, that's like, it's better than how our other failures have been, so I don't know.
Well, and I guess what makes him special is he's a savant. That's wonderful. I think it would be awesome to be a savant. You don't have to be autistic to be a savant, and being autistic doesn't mean that you automatically are. The percentage of people who have savantism, period, is extremely low, and the percentage among people who are autistic is it's tiny. It's not a common thing. I read that 40% of people who have autism, don't even speak. It's certainly not a magical condition. It's not being a superhero.
Yeah, and even with sorry, you go first, and I was going.
Well, I was just gonna say, for the kid to sit down, learn a new alien language, and learn how to use a new computer operating system in computer technology. I mean, have you seen like some of those kids react to videos on YouTube, and you'll see them like in front of a computer from the 1980s, and they'll be like, "Where's the power switch?" And it's actually,
where's the power? Where's the Insta button?
and they start hitting the buttons on the keyboard trying to turn it on when you can't even tell where the power switch is because they hated people back then. And
that's fairly recent. I think not a lot of people have seen, but I do actually highly recommend it. it does fall into this a little bit. I will say the problem with this, it's fine if you have a character with magical powers. I think that's kind of fun for a lot of people. I want to be Buffy the Vampire Slayer, you know. I think there's some fantasy and escapism, and I'm happy that, you know, autistic people can have these people who have powers that can be like, oh, isn't that cool? Because that's probably the closest we've had to maybe an autistic superhero who's not the Blue Ranger. Who, by the way, has autism in the new movie. But I think it's great. I think the problem is a lot of times this is a plot device and they don't develop the character. We don't know anything about them except for that they see dead people or they can read an alien language. We don't know them.
Well, it's also because they keep using the same, because Hollywood's bad, but low budget films are also bad. Both are bad. They both have the problem of, you know, just having this like, they keep using the same tropes, not just the magical trope is bad enough, but it's always the same kind of, you know, quiet. It's usually a kid. It's usually a little boy. See, I've always noticed that. So it's a little boy, and he just kind of sits there, yes, and he doesn't speak, or if he speaks, it's very swing, or he freaks out, or he's loud, all that, and it's all the tropes. It's not, and that again, those people probably do exist. There are there are boys who. Mainly boys who obviously have all these, but it's just it seems like it's less like Hollywood, like, you know, oh wow, we really care. It's more like a checklist. It's like, okay, kid, check. Oh, it has to be a boy. Can't speak, check, or is mute, or doesn't like speaking, check. Sensitive, check. It's all these little check marks. I mean, again, I know that's the Hollywood system of writing scripts in general, but it's really blatant.
I think, again, it has a lot to do with, you know, they connect to what's the first thing? Oh, you know, they think of a movie like Rain Man or something, and they think boy. But I did read that a lot of the movies, and I have seen it in my research, that have autistic characters are usually male. There's a much smaller percentage of females. Though some of the best ones are female characters. One movie I want to tell you guys about is on Shudder, and it does fall into this, but I think it's separate from this because they fully develop the character, which is great. So this movie's called The Innocents. I don't want to get the country wrong, but it is a foreign film. But it is on Shudder. And it's not just the autistic child who has this gift. This two sisters. One is very autistic, and she's a nonverbal, and she has very difficult time expressing herself. Like her sister, and I think the movie talks about a lot of stuff, but it does explore kind of the cruelty of children. Like her sister's constantly pinching her. She puts glass in, the little sister puts glass in her shoes because her older sister with autism doesn't react. And you understand that she's being curious, but it's also horribly cruel. And they move to this town where two other children have abilities already. Then the autistic older girl, I wish I could remember her name. She starts to have powers too, but she really connects to this other little girl who actually can read her mind. And when the same girl gets injured again, the little girl says, well, it's okay. She can't feel nothing. She's like, she's in a lot of pain. She feels things very much so. She just can't tell you about it. She said, and she goes, well, she doesn't cry. She's like, she's crying on the inside. And I thought that was really insightful.
Mm-hmm. You know, it certainly does. Oh, sorry. Michael. Sorry, I have a weird thing of cutting people off on accident. But yeah, Michael, go first.
I have two brothers, grew up in a very noisy household, so I accidentally cut people off all the time. Just, you know, do not worry about it. You are not going to offend me. So absolutely just jump right in.
I have two sisters, so sorry. What was I going to say? Well, like when it comes to like dealing with the noise factor, I mean, oftentimes you're sitting there like, especially with like, suppose like when I'm being touched, that's like I'm like on the inside I'm screaming like, oh my god, but on the outside I'm like going, because I don't know how to react to it, I'm like, what do I do?
And what's cool is this nonverbal character, she is the main character, which we don't see enough of that either. And usually they are a side character. She's the main character, and she does eventually get to talk, but it's not because she's cured. It's because the girl, another little girl who her abilities manifest as like being psychic, she's actually able to help her. And when something happens to where that little girl's no longer in the movie, that one girl who's nonverbal is no longer talking again. So it's not like she's magically cured. She had a very good friend who helped her. helped her say what she was saying on the inside. So I thought it was really good. I highly recommend that one. I do, she has powers. There's actually a really cool battle at the end. It's not at all X-Men-y. It's all very psychological. One of the kids who has powers is really cruel and is hurting a lot of people. And he's coming after the other the three little girls who know about it. But yeah, they also kind of imply that all the children in this town kind of have some ability. There's something wrong with the town. But I do really recommend that one. So let's see, where were we? Okay, so we get to the 1990s. Yes.
Just Arkham, you wanted to say something earlier?
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yes. Again, I haven't seen The Innocents yet, but it sounds good. It sounds good, but then I can't judge. You'll see that not often on here because I saw like 62% of the films that you put on there.
I watched it, so you don't have to, my friend.
Well, you didn't watch it.
Watch it.
I know you watched a couple. You haven't watched a couple yet.
I haven't watched I didn't watch Gorno, and I did find some more. I watched a lot. Most of them. I couldn't watch Satan's Playground because I couldn't find it anywhere.
I couldn't find that either.
I did post it in the chat earlier. I forgot to mention it. I made a list of every single horror movie involving a character who's either coded autistic, has been cited as autistic in some journal or something somewhere, or read that way, or is actually stated as being autistic. It's on Letterboxd. You can check it out and, find some movies. I can't guarantee they're all good, but they're just part of this discussion.
That was a tremendous document you made. I just wanted to say.
Thank you so much. Much appreciated, my friend. There was a comment in the chat I actually wanted to bring to you guys. Noodle Pasta says, I think people who are autistic do see things in a different way. I think they would have ideas that are out of the box. That trait could be beneficial to a predator. What do you guys think about that?
That could be interesting, but that's not the way the movie handled it. The way we handled it was, autism is the next great step in evolutionary progress, and guys, we are this advanced thing that we just don't understand yet. It's like, okay, ready? Sure. There, Shane Black, you really knew what you were doing.
I think a lot of it I think there would be some positives that would bring to it, like seeing changes that some people wouldn't see, like especially like trying to find people's weaknesses or something like that. I'm not 100% sure, but I think that there would be so many negatives, like unable to express or shutting down in new or unusual situations that a lot of autistic people have, that they'd be bait for the predators, basically.
I mean, again, I'm just talking from somebody who's friends with people who have autism and family members. I have seen, a lot of times autistic people, because they're interacting with the world in a very different way, they think of things that other people don't sometimes. But that's not necessarily everybody. And that doesn't mean they're going to do it in this predator situation. I think that's kind of a, I think this kid is very exceptionally, he's a savant, which is obviously beneficial. But yeah, I think it's awesome on any team. Have people different walks of life, have people from different parts of the world, have people who have autism and dyslexia, have people who see things differently, and I think you're going to have a stronger team overall.
I think if they fleshed it out more, it definitely would have been a much better movie.
They'd have to explain it more. My only takeaway would be that, if you want a strong team, don't have a lot of like-minded people. Have people from different walks of life. Have people who look at things differently. I think a lot of people who are autistic have a very kind of spatial awareness, and having somebody like that in your group is going to help you. I don't know. Am I off on that one?
No, my camera's off by 1 millimeter, and it's driving me so insane.
Oh, I'm so sorry, my friend. I'm so sorry. Is it like a delay?
No, it's a balance issue. It's like just a little bit, and so I'm just like, I need to fix it, but I have
Tatum, thank you so much. I actually have it on my list. Bless the Child as one too. She says, bless the child, Cody, the child who of course is afflicted with a form of autism, basically spends the movie hugging people and smiling like Annie looking at Daddy Warbucks. Yeah, this movie, if you guys haven't seen it, please don't, because it's horrible. Kim Basinger is terrible in this movie, and I love Kim Basinger. But this little girl, Cody, she has a mother who basically leaves her at her aunt's house. And so her aunt, Kim Basinger, who's always wanted a child, raises her. Cody is described as having autism. Cody doesn't speak. But a lot of these movies kind of treat being autistic as being mute. And there are 40% of people who are autistic are nonverbal, but it's more that, and please correct me if my description is wrong. From what I understand, a person who's autistic feels and everything just like everybody else, but their way of expressing emotions and interpreting emotions is very different. Is that fair?
Yeah, it's can also be overwhelming because you're feeling way too much or seeing too much. I think the best way that one person described it was like your senses are like being crawled over by bees, and the noise is just like attacking sometimes for some people, and because of that, like it just shuts you down. It's for some people.
Yeah, a lot of people who have autism have hypersensitivity to sound, light, smell, touch. They get so overwhelmed. So you might think it's just something really small, but to them it feels like 50 people are touching them, or it's compounded so much, and so they get very overwhelmed. And so you think that they might be overreacting, but to them it's a very justifiable reaction to how they're experiencing it.
Mm-hmm. But it can make somebody seem like they're mute. I think that's probably what that stereotype from.
Yeah. So this movie, she's mute, which it's something that can happen, but she's hugging people. She's looking people in the eye. For the most part, she's just a little girl who's normal, very religious, and can't talk. And then, you know what? She's basically Jesus. No, I'm not fucking kidding you guys. She's basically Jesus, and she fights the devil who wants her powers, but she's got Jesus powers. Please don't ever see this movie. Let's stop talking about it. It's so bad.
Hey, I would love the ability to turn water into wine. That would save so many bills.
Oh, Vay. It really would be great. And you'd be great at parties. But no, beer run. Mike's here. Run the tap, buddy. So let's get into the 1990s. I think the 1990s was significant because that's when autism, like I said, it wasn't put into the DSM, which is what's used to identify certain mental conditions. It was originally put in there as being described as a form of schizophrenia, which is way completely different. So 1994, they finally updated it as a spectrum disorder, which is a little bit more how we understand it today. It also became a lot more widely diagnosed, that and Asperger's syndrome. So, it became something where, like, you would hear of people saying, oh, my kid was diagnosed with this, obviously.
Just 1 second. DSM stands for Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, just in case anybody was curious. It's basically it's just used for a handbook for doctors for mental disorders, so they're all speaking the same language. And that's how Google works.
Yay. So it became less of this thing like in movies where it was like these children who are completely incapable of interacting with other people, who are mute. And it became something that you would know somebody who's autistic by like the 90s. And I think you would think the correlation would be then that the movies would get better. I'm really sorry, but they don't. Hey, Jason Rushman. My night's going great. I'm hanging out with two of my good friends here. Got a lot of good friends in the chat. Pro Physical Media is here. Lots of awesome people are here. Bearpoint Station.
Arkham, did you have something?
Oh, I'm so sorry, Arkham. Arkham, are you speaking?
You're muted.
Shoot.
Oh, I'm so sorry. That's why I didn't know you were speaking.
Sorry about that. I mean, to be fair, this is Hollywood we're talking about. They take like 40 years, or they take forever to go anywhere with any kind of anything. So, like, I mean, no, they're still not getting it right for the most part. There's like occasional ones.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. We're going to focus more on some more of the tropes that we see in movies featuring autistic characters. So I talked about the people who are like magical or savants. We've talked about ones who could be fixed. One that Arkham and I have talked about a lot is the autistic obstacle, where this is not a character. They are just there to make the main character's life a living hell. So a great example is Burning Bright. Now this movie's flipping weird. The stepfather wants to kill his stepdaughter and autistic stepson because he wants their life insurance. So he gets a very nasty behaved lion, boards them in the house with it. And then the next morning, the sister wakes up. There's a very hungry lion that wants to kill her and her brother, but her brother doesn't understand what's going on. So he just walks like down the hall, and then she's trying to like get them out of the house, but she also has to go get her brother. But all he does in the movie is he just makes the stakes raised, which is nice, but I don't know anything about him. I don't know what he likes, what he wants. He doesn't want anything. He's just...
Yeah, he's just a roadblock for ostensibly the main character. I mean, funny enough, it's basically, I think I mentioned in my review ages ago when I saw this film like a long time ago, it's ostensibly just Crawl. It's a predecessor to Crawl with a lion and an autistic kid thrown in. And Meatloaf appears for like in the very beginning. It's not a good film. It was one of the more painful ones I had to endure. But I watched this one before the big, just weird binge I did of films for this particular stream. So I already seen this one prior. I was already familiar with it not particularly being very good.
I read something there's the Bechdel test for women. The test that basically says, are there more than two women in the movie? Do they have names, and do they talk to each other about something other than men? You guys would not believe how many movies fail this. It's so sad. But for disabled people, there's a similar test. And the test is, can you replace the character with a pet that needs an expensive operation? In this case, yes, you can. 100%. It could be a dog that is dying of cancer that just keeps running down the hallway because it's a dog. Absolutely, you can. The movie does not change. It's a lot of movies with disabled people, like they're just there for plot, but they're not treated as characters that are developed, which is unfortunate. And Empty Rooms is another one. To a small degree, Triangle is, where he's a plot device.
I mean, he is pretty much the plot device for what's her face. To go through that completely confusing and horribly thought out time loop. Yes, he is the culprit, and in theory, I like the idea of Triangle. Basically, this abusive lover.
But I don't like how the autistic kid doesn't have anything to do.
I kind of like the idea of this abusive mother being confronted with her actions. I wish the whole movie was like that instead of just not making any sense in any possibility. I will say I like the idea of that. The execution, it was way too late in the film, and by that time I already checked out. So yeah, it's part of that, but I'll at least give it a bit of a pass in that regard of that. At least it tried. At least it was like, okay, I get what they were going for, and the idea isn't bad. It's just, for me, it was way too late in the film for me to care. And also, again, it just didn't really help with the absolutely terrible, terrible logic that this whole time was running on.
I would say an example of the obstacle done well is Babadook. Now, the character is never officially said to have autism, but he has a lot of traits, and he has been read as autistic by a lot of people. But the child in that has, a lot of, meltdowns, issues. But what I like about Samuel, and why I've always defended the character, is he has wants and stuff. One, he loves to build. He cares about his mom. He wants to protect his mom. He doesn't understand what is happening, but Samuel does have an arc. Like he just doesn't understand why, as any kid that age would, why doesn't my mom want to be around me? Why doesn't she want to celebrate my birthday? Why doesn't he's fed up. He's on the spectrum. He has a mother who is not there for him. He can't even celebrate his birthday. And he's basically screaming, hey, this isn't okay. And so,
character
he's going to melt
development
down
of the
and be
arcs are
annoying.
so important.
Huh?
character arcs and development are so important.
But I feel as this movie progresses, she learns to deal with her grief because when Samuel was born, she lost her husband in a car accident. And so the movie's a lot about grief and motherhood. And she can't celebrate his birthday because the day her husband died. And she learns through the Babadook, it's very metaphorical, to deal with her grief. That you can't just, it's something that can't just be healed. It's something that you kind of have to deal with little by little every day. And you can remember without, letting it ruin you. And then Samuel, I think he also starts to understand, my mom has a world outside of me and she needs to be cared for too. He learns that through this movie and he tries protecting her, tries lots of different things, but they kind of get an understanding at the end, which is really kind of cool. So I recommend the Babadook.
I liked it.
A couple of people in the chat, Tatum mentioned The Boy Who Could Fly. Fairpoint Station mentioned The Wizard. These are actually, I think, are great movies, but they are not horror movies. So I really, because it's a horror channel, I stuck this to just horror. There are actually a lot of really good ones, even some good thrillers. I'll talk about one in a little bit that I want to recommend to you guys. But the next one I would say is The Adult Child. So this is when you have an autistic adult who behaves like a small child, which that's a common misconception with a lot of autistic characters. A person who is autistic they can sometimes also have learning disabilities, but being autistic alone doesn't necessarily mean that you have a difficulty with learning in itself or that you're any less intelligent than anybody.
Yeah.
So, but yes, sometimes somebody who has autism can also have a learning disability. The trope is that a lot of times when typically an adult male, they act like they're 6 years old. That is not what being autistic is. So, and Toxic Zombies is one.
Oh yeah, no, that one. That one, I only found that was a last minute addition one I was telling you about because I was watching a channel. Shout out to Horror Timelines, amazing channel. But he was doing the '80s project where he's watching every horror film of the '80s, every single one. And one of the films he talked about was Toxic Zombies. I was watching, I was like, oh, hey. And he mentioned the character was autistic. Like, okay, well, I have to put that one. There was a few that I was doing that with, but most of these I found for
they
2D.
Say I don't want to say it on a story, but like the dad in that is so just... He at one point like shoulder checks the mom trying to escape from zombies. And he's like, yeah, it's okay that our kid, he might be our word, but he can learn how to live in the world. I'm just like, oh, wow. 80s. Bless you.
I mean, there's a lot of problems besides, well, that whole character. That character is just kind of more signs that the film itself wasn't particularly good. I wouldn't say it's the worst video nasty I've watched. That honor would go to Boogeyman 2.
Oh,
the Return of the Boogeyman, the one that's just uses stock footage of the first one. It's nothing but that. Yeah, no. But yeah,
another
no,
one that you recommended was The Mummy Reborn.
Oh, jeez. I get to probably talk about I finally get to talk about Scott Jeffrey on a stream. I can finally get an actual excuse to talk about a Scott Jeffrey movie. Okay. Actually, you go first. I want to hear your thoughts on it.
I think their heart was in the right place. I would say writing is challenging. And if you're on a budget and you cannot afford to get an actor who's very good at playing somebody with a disability, maybe don't write a character with a disability. If you do not know anything about this condition, don't use it in your script. So essentially, again, we have an older sister who has to steal a mummy, because that's what you do when you can't afford to care for your autistic younger brother who behaves like he's 6 years old. And he does all the, basically he saw Rain Man and he just copied a lot of the, I mean, I'm surprised he doesn't say he's an excellent driver at some point.
Yeah, no, Scott Jeffrey, I'm going to give a little background to the Scott Jeffrey production. Because I'm planning to do a video on this. I have like 6 of his films on DVD. I'm planning to get more just so I can use footage. So I don't have to use YouTube rips. So basically, by the way, if you want to watch a Scott Jeffrey film, if you have a British, if it's a British film from 2016 to today, and you see like the same actors, that's a Scott Jeffrey production. If you see the same names pop up, that's a Scott Jeffrey production. Films like Winnie the Pooh, Honey, Blood, and Honey, that's a Scott Jeffrey production. So, A Mummy Reborn, and I know you saw Foxtrap, which I've not seen Foxtrap.
I have. It's very
That
boring.
the Scott Jeffrey formula is as follows: take scripts or ideas from other films, you take that and you kind of repurpose them, maybe combine with others. Let's use Don't Speak, which was their Quiet Place knockoff, as an example, or maybe Mummy Reborn. Mummy Reborn is a little bit better, but let's use Don't Speak as well. Don't Speak takes the idea of a generic 80s, family goes down to town to see relative, but creature finds them. Mutant experiment gone wrong. Mummy Reborn, mummy that can possess people and can control others. You gotta have the sister who has to take care of the child or disable the dog or anything like that. And you have the family, you have the relative, you have the relatives, you got the friends, the party friends. You gotta have the mummy creature, all that has to be stolen, and of course someone has to break the thing. It's all these tropes. Scott Jeffrey, they have the same actors for each one. It's it's almost fascinating, Scott Jeffrey, because you almost feel like you're watching the same movie over and over again. It's like Groundhog Day. You feel like you're watching the same film over and over, just with a different coat of paint. Sometimes there are differences, and that's what Mummy Reborn is doing. They're doing that with the autistic thing. I won't say it comes off as offensive, as more as it just it's just their it's not out of, I think, offensive being they don't obviously the insert director and Scott Jeffrey producer the producer, they don't particularly, it's like they just they're more like, okay, what kind of idea are we taking here? Because that's kind of what they pump out, they're better off than maybe any of us, but they've been doing this since 2016 and have been rehashing films from the 80s to now. And they've been doing this, and they've been pumping out more than 20 movies a year through this. So that's kind of one of the more interesting. That kind of adds to another issue. And I think that, again, what are your thoughts on this, guys? This long, drawn-out explanation I did.
I think it's just misguided. I feel like they just didn't know. I don't think they were trying to be offensive. But it's just like that, what the movie Get Out told us about being offensive is you may have good intentions or you think you're, but if you are not knowledgeable about what you're talking about, you're bound to say something stupid.
I think this one's more account of laziness, because again, they're this was the same year. I'm gonna check when this was the same year. What movies? Because there are a lot of these. This was before they really started. This is the 2020s to 20 now. They've been pumping these things out for forever. There's a new one on Tubi or YouTube every day, or Walmart. If you go to Walmart and see those kind of covers, and if you see that kind of cast and see those particular, it's one of those. Let me look this up, because
sounds like The Asylum.
Yeah.
Okay, here's the better part. Some of their movies, they have camera work that looks amazing. That's the weird part. They have this. Sometimes they'll have this amazing camera work, beautiful cinematography. So the end of Don't Speak, as stupid as it was, it's beautifully shot, great music, and most of the time it's a bunch of monsters and rubber masks, and it becomes even funnier because it's not supposed to be it's again. I know I'm getting away from the topic of it, but it's almost it's too connected. I think the treatment of the autistic character and the
I feel like I feel the way about autistic characters in low budget movies the way I feel about low budget shark movies. It's very hard to accurately portray an autistic character. So if you cannot afford to do it, don't do it. It's very hard to make a shark look good in a movie. So if you can't afford it, don't just phone it in. Just don't do it.
Yeah, no. I know that's true. I mean, this was also the same. This is the same year for Scott Jeffrey, at least. He was pumping out Viking War, the Pet Graveyard, which funny enough stole its plot from Flatliners. Tooth Fairy, Battle Scream, Cyber Bride, Scarecrow's Revenge, Pagan Warrior, and Mermaid's Curse. So these are 8 movies, 9 movies
are left out. That
I
one.
saw the Tooth Fairy.
Oh, you saw? Oh, yeah. Oh. Well, I mean, that one's been this is not the 2000s. This is the 2019 one.
Oh, then
no, that's the one. That's Darkness Falls. That's one you can't see anything in. The Tooth Fairy, or oh no, wait, I'm also confusing that one. Now there's like 3 movies about Tooth Fairies. There's The Rock, there's the 2019 one, and then there's the Darkness Falls, which is where you can't see anything. Yeah, no. Notice that. Oh, sorry.
I would like to defend the 1980s, especially for family night. A lot of weird stuff would happen in the 1980s that would make a lot of horror movies seem tame by comparison.
A couple other movies that have this trope that I kind of want to move on to talking about. Another one that you told me about was The Haunting Inside, where she's a little more manic pixie than she is autistic. The girl in that, she's essentially uses she's left home alone. She uses a Ouija board so she can have friends. So she summons these ghosts, and ultimately they turn out to be bad. But she's just really maybe a little ADD. But she's like, I like talking about snails. Do you want to talk about snails? Do you want to play a board game? She makes them dinner, and they're like, what is this? And she's like, it's got marshmallows and stuff in it. It's like some kind of meat sandwich with marshmallows. So I'm like, where did you get this from? She got it from a cartoon.
Yeah, no, that whole movie is absolutely. I mean, you're in a bad time when your supposed scary ghosts are sensibly. I mean, it's trying to be comedic kind of thing. Are a gangster, a goth woman with a big long strand of hair in front of her, and a totally not 30-year-old actress pretending to be a little girl. So I mean, you don't really have much faith in that. But the whole movie, I'll give it credit for putting her in the forefront, but she also kind of becomes, as you said, the hurdle of where she's kind of the obstacle to her brother character. And of course, as I mentioned before, got the cartoon. Well, this time they did mention Scooby-Doo. That was like the scenes. It's like, what was it? The goth characters like, yeah, let's find out if your brother's going to sell you to a psych ward.
Yeah,
like Scooby.
A lot of these movies deal with people who are autistic having to either requiring somebody to care for them or having to be sent to an institution. And I don't think it's as common as movies would make you believe. I know a fair amount of people with autism. As far as I know, none of them have been institutionalized for it.
For the cooking thing, I would like to say that when I was smaller, I made cookies, and because I didn't know what sugar was, I used Gatorade.
At least, I mean, I was kind of worried the story would be like, so I used cocaine, because it was the 80s.
Well, no, I was more thinking of...
Could have been worse, but you were also a little kid.
Yeah. No.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
this woman is a full-grown adult.
22, 23, I mean, that's what happened. No.
I was thinking at the time I was a kid, but I thought it was really a cool idea to put a bowl of ice cream and M&Ms in the microwave. So I mean, again, it's more. I mean, it happens. The problem is how it's done. It's done like a sitcom.
The problem is they have an adult woman doing it, and it's supposed to be.
Well, they have an adult woman.
She has autism, and that's not.
Yeah.
They have a model adult woman doing it. That makes it kind of weird already.
Also, her hair is like Kool-Aid red, so you can effectively color your hair. You can't make a sandwich.
I think because so in the defense of that actress, she's part of this like more underground, weirder, low budget cinema. So a lot of them have more dyed hair, which is probably why she has the dyed hair.
It was just poorly done.
Oh no, it's poorly done, and you have it's one reviewer. I forgot his Miss Cordy FX when he was doing a review of this, which is I actually saw the movie before he did the review, but. He pointed out it's handled like a sitcom. The whole thing is handled like a sitcom, and it really shows what the autistic character, because it's all goofy and it's overdone, and the actress is like, again, she's just overdoing it.
Isn't the same as being developmentally stunted or eccentric.
Yeah, and you have the great was it? Oh yeah, that's right, because she was bashing her head with the remote when she was arguing with her brother. Remember in the beginning?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's a mess, and she's agoraphobic.
She's
but
also
barely
agoraphobic, yes. Which she just gets over that at the end.
Oh yeah, she gets over it at the end. Just run out of the house after you shot the Ouija board. Yeah. Oh, by the way, sorry if I spoiled the amazing film
Nobody should
that's
see
haunting.
this. I think. I also want to give a shout out to Nanette, who also has a YouTube channel and is
Right.
also autistic and dyslexic. And she said she had a hard time in school, and when she got older, had a better time with like reading and stuff. But she's always been great at math, so that's cool. Nice to hear from Nanette. A couple more that maybe more people have seen, because you guys, I doubt you guys have seen the last two, so just keep being you and not seeing that. Hubie Halloween, they never outright say he's autistic, but a lot of people read it that way. Also The Fanatic.
Oh,
Have you guys
jeez.
seen either of these?
I have seen The Fanatic. I have not seen Hubie Halloween because
The first line of The Fanatic: can't talk, gotta poop. Cinema.
Oh yeah, no, it's a great. I love the scene where
And Travolta thought he would get an award for that.
I know. So Mike, you've seen this one.
Oh yeah, I love my. It's not related to. It's related to the movie. I remember the great scene where Devon Sawa's character is in the car with his kid playing. Of course, the movie's directed by Brad. The lead singer of Limp Bizkit. He's playing Limp Bizkit. Man, I remember with this music. It was some good music, man.
We used to rock out to this, yeah. But focusing more on the character here of Moose, who is playing. Yeah. Oh shit. Oh shit. So, as an autistic man, Mike, how do you interpret this character, and do you find him relatable? Tell us about the character.
He is basically he is an autistic man who constantly is wearing his backpack or whatever it was, and he's trying to make it his way into Hollywood, so he can see his fan, or I forget.
He's
the
like
name
Idol
of the guy.
from a
it's like an old action star played by Devon Sawa, yeah.
Yeah, and he's trying to see him, and then he just keeps getting into worse and worse plots involving the guy that eventually ends up involving dead bodies.
Yeah, and the conveniently placed shotgun. If you.
Yes,
but less on the plot, more on the character. Like, what was wrong with the character?
Oh yeah, no, I wait. I'm actually curious. So, I don't know. I know Moose's intention wasn't to hurt Devon Sawa's character, but you'd think he would have noticed the loaded shotgun, and it's not like concealed. Like, okay, concealed, fine, whatever. No, it's right above his bed, and he doesn't, and he never mentions it until Devon Sawa just breaks free, reaches out, and shoots off Moose's hand. But yeah, no. Yeah, that was it's not a good film in any capacity, and that representation is horribly done. That's mainly because John Travolta has now, seemingly over time, like many actors, lost all, especially older, like particular actors like him, have seemingly lost all acting ability. And you could tell with such he's playing and the worst was, I think, actually the scene where he was playing he was dressing up as that police guy and doing like the Hollywood
the English Bobby.
Oh, that was the worst.
With the worst accent
absolute
ever.
Worst.
But
yes,
Mike, what were you saying about the character?
To me, it was like the character he had some kind of combination of like a learning disability and he couldn't socialize very well, and he let's just say had some hygiene issues too, but I could not relate to his character at all, so I spent the entire movie laughing at him.
Yeah, no, it is a miserable experience.
He's fixated on this idea. For people who haven't seen the movie, he is fixated on this idea of getting an autograph. And I do think that is sometimes autistic people can be very like passionate about a hobby or horror movies or something that they enjoy doing. And I do think that is something that tends to be a trait. He's really obsessed with this action star, and he's really obsessed with collecting memorabilia. So he waits in line, and he's like, he's going to sign right. He's going to sign right, which, I think that part makes sense.
Yeah.
But then he
Fine.
keeps going to like the man's house and stuff. Then he doesn't seem to understand that he's crossed a line, which autistic people I think can sometimes misread a situation sometimes, but not to that level. Not somebody who's able to live on their own like that.
I mean, it
To the
depends.
point
Oh,
of
sorry.
bodies showing up, at least.
Yeah.
Again, a lot of again, are there weirdos who are autistic? Again, the internet has shown that they're especially now more prevalent. But we have had these kind of weirdo characters, people who have to be autistic. I mean, I've been
Thank you, Elon Musk.
now I was going to name worse people, way worse. Because I'm friends with not really friends, but I know a person. I watch a person named Lyle Convoy, and there have been numerous people who have autism who've been autism that have shown kind of like stalkerish behavior, that creepy, and they interacting that they shouldn't, and all that. So I guess in that way, it's not highly unrealistic. But most of those people, first of all, with the exception of like maybe like comes to idol culture in like Japan or South Korea, most of us in the States don't tend to go the direction that Moose did. But then again, we don't have some of the same problems of idol culture like they do in Japan and in South Korea. Although certainly had there are certainly fans that do act like that. Although maybe not all of them are autistic per se. It's just a general fan thing, and I guess that's what John Travolta was trying to do. But that autism thing just completely blew up in his face.
So how would you guys react to if you told somebody you're getting to know them, you're like, so I have autism, and they were like, oh, like the guy in The Fanatic?
I'd laugh, and I wouldn't be angry. Well, first of all, no one's gonna come. I think more people are going to say, oh, I've been the Rain Man more, like The Fanatic.
Do you get that a lot?
No, I do not. I do
What
not
about you,
get that.
Mike?
I'm just saying it's more likely you're going
I
to
know.
probably see that.
But that's a good question. Do you guys, when people are trying to understand your condition, do they compare it to like a popular movie ever?
They'll say, like, especially if they're in the older generations, they'll be like, oh, like Rain Man or something like that. And I'm like, kind of, but not really. If they directly say, oh, you're the rain guy, I'll go, and that's my, oh, God,
No,
really uncomfortable.
I've gone more of the, well, you're really smart for an autistic person. Kind of like that. I've got more of that. Wow. Like more of the kind of demeaning praise than I have gotten, say, compared to, I don't know, The Fanatic, or if some random guy with little time in his hand watched Mummy Reborn, for instance. Let's just say that, for instance. So, yeah, you're like the kid from Mummy Reborn.
But
I never gotten any of that. But it's it's something I would have.
Right,
I'd see more people.
To say.
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry.
No, you go first.
If when it comes to like The Fanatic or something like that, I would be no, we don't get obsessed about the bigger things. A lot of it's more the little things.
Yeah.
Like like the other day I found myself trying to avoid stepping on the cracks on the wall. I mean, a sidewalk, mainly because I don't want that incomplete feeling, which will
not because you're worried about your
sped
mother's
out
back.
the rest of the world.
Yeah.
What?
Not because you're worried about your mother's back.
No, not because I'm worried about my mother's back.
No, I understand. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make light of it.
No, go ahead. But yeah, go ahead, Arkham.
And I was going to mention, because that reminds me because I have a thing where, for example, this little guy right here, Torch, at the very tip of his spike on the head broke. It's not. It still looks fine from here, but I just always annoyed by it. The little tip has been broken off, that kind of thing, or things like there are certain things that have to be. I mean, I guess I don't know if I have OCD because I don't know for sure if I do. But there's like certain things where I get really irritated by like doing a certain thing.
That's something for a whole other day. A lot of people associate OCD with being particular. My brother has severe OCD, and it makes life for him very challenging. There's a lot of difference between being particular and having OCD. That's a story for another day. One of the things, because I have a brother who's suffered with it a lot, one of the things I get really offended by is when people say my OCD. No, you don't have OCD. It changes your life.
Yeah, no. That's why I'm not saying I have OCD. I'm
Yeah,
like,
no,
no,
I'm
I don't
not
know.
saying
I'm
you
just
are. I'm just putting it out there for other people
no.
listening. Like that's
I'm more clarifying for someone who's like, oh, this kid say he has OCD. I'm like, no. I'm just saying I don't know if I do, but it's something I've noticed about myself that maybe I don't know. Maybe I just I do, but I forgot. Sometimes I do that. Sometimes I don't have the greatest of memory. So
I
yeah.
think you remember a lot of movies, buddy.
Sometimes I forget I've seen movies, so that's why
I
I
want
have
to
a
move on
letterbox.
to one that I think is one of the more harmful tropes, and it is the autistic psychopath. So a lot of people, because part of being autistic, like we talked about before, like a part of it, like there's a lot of parts of it, guys. So I'm not trying to just simplify it too much. But for people who are listening, I know you guys obviously know, but part of it is expressing emotions differently than other people. You know, sometimes autistic people don't know how to express what they're feeling inside, but they do feel it. So a lot of people will take that to mean if an autistic person doesn't react, that they don't have feelings, kind of like what we talked about with the innocence. And that's completely different than being like a psychopath, where they don't have feelings. There are some people, you know, like sociopaths who really just don't have feelings in the way that other people do. That's not how they do things. Autistic people feel things very, very strongly. They're just not expressing it the same way. So a lot of horror movies in particular have taken that to mean that autistic people, psychopaths, same thing. Which, by the way, there's even a difference between sociopaths and psychopaths. I'm not saying that at all. If you're a sociopath, that doesn't necessarily mean that you kill people. You're probably a great person. Psychopaths, though, are terrible people. They hurt people. They have no emotional reaction to things. And so we have a lot of characters. One of the ones that comes to mind to me is relative fear. I don't think a lot of you have seen this movie, so I'm just going to kind of cover it really quickly. But it's a couple, it's almost kind of like Omen in a sense. They have a little boy who is nonverbal, doesn't look at them, and you know, when they express their frustrations and not getting to hear their child talk and stuff like that, part's relatable from a parent standpoint. I had a son who took a very long time to talk because of his own conditions. That's heartbreaking. You know, you want to connect with your child. I get that. But then they start to think that he's not their child at all. And then you find out, oh no, they're right. Their child is the son of serial killers. And a lot of people are dying. And the movie wants you to think it's the little boy. Well, I'm going to spoil it for you. I guess I don't care. This movie sucks. It's not the little boy. It's his new therapist who's supposed to be helping him with his condition, who's actually doing it. But what's upsetting is at the end of the movie, they end it on the kid being creepy, you know? And so even though it wasn't him, it's still trying to make you afraid of people who have, you know, who have this condition. And I think that's messed up. You know, it's something that people who know people like this can carry into their lives. And I think that's really dangerous.
That reminds me of the movie Brightburn.
Yes. What are your thoughts on Brightburn? Like, do you interpret it at all as like him having autism?
He definitely has some autistic traits, and I'm not sure what. Like, he starts chewing on things to make himself feel better, especially like the fork. He's literally chewing the fork like it's bubble gum. I've done stuff like that. Although in my case, I think it's occasional pen cap. But that's a movie about where a kid is basically Superman growing up, but he turns out to be a psychopath and goes on a killing spree. At the end of the movie, at the end credits are showing him causing disasters so he can get cookies from people.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people always say, oh, you know, it's always the quiet ones, but movies really make us think that if somebody's quiet, or if they have autism, if they have a condition that makes it to where they don't interact like other people, you must be a killer. Relative Fear does that. A better version of Relative Fear, I would say, is Silent Fall. It's not a horror movie. It's got Linda Hamilton in it and Richard Dreyfuss. That one's a little bit better. Liv Tyler's in it, where the kid is a suspect because he saw his parents die. But nobody outright accuses him. The difference is they don't make him creepy. Are you okay, Arkham? Oh, you're typing.
No, fine. I'm just typing while we're doing this.
There's a few coded examples. We won't get into too much because they're not outright saying the kid has autism, but Martin's one you could take. the Pancakes Kid in Cabin Fever.
Oh, jeez.
Pancake!
Pancakes, yes. A lot of people say Tommy Jarvis from Friday the 13th Part 5. He's very fixated on his mask. He's sent to this place where he is supposed to live with other children, teenagers who have mental disabilities. He can, have a meltdown or react suddenly. So some people interpret, him as having autistic traits. Moving back to ones where they outright say it, though, now one that comes to mind is Daisy Chain, and I actually really liked this one up until the last 5 seconds. Again, it's one I know a lot of you haven't seen, so I'm going to sum it up.
I saw it.
I know you hated it, but we'll get to that. What I liked about it is this family has a little girl named Daisy who's autistic. Her parents are killed in a fire. And a woman who's just moved to there and is pregnant, she takes to the little girl. She really bonds with her. And everyone in town is like, she's evil. She's a changeling. And she's like, she's autistic. What is wrong with you people? And she basically explains that back in 1800s, somebody who was autistic or who was at all different. I mean, if you were a woman who did math, you would be accused of something, being a witch, being a changeling, and people would terrorize you until you were dead. And the movie, I believe, from what the director said in interviews, the movie is trying to put you in that position to make you understand how this happens, how people who are seemingly normal, people who think they're good people, can become part of a mob of mass hysteria to the point where they threaten a little girl, And yeah, she keeps kind of being in the right place at the right time to where she's getting accused of all these horrible things. And, she wants to wear like the little fairy wings and stuff. And all of it, I thought was really, really good because you feel bad for thinking, well, maybe she's doing it. And that's what the movie's trying to do. There's a lot of people in the movie who are like, well, you don't think it's really her, but they do. And you can see how this happens, how these horrible things in history have happened. That's where I think the movie is really strong. At the end of the movie, they think the little girl has killed somebody. A body is found, and she's the only one there. And then you find out she didn't do anything. The baby, who's finally born, she took care of it. She actually saved the baby's life. And she's rocking it. And then the person who finds her takes the baby. They don't even treat her like a human being, and they run away from her. It's horrible. It's absolutely fucking horrible. But I think that would have been perfect. I'd been like, wow, that's so cool. The worst part, the thing I don't like about it then is then she starts to be creepy, with her doll. She covers the doll's head, and then she looks at the camera really menacingly. I'm like, well, why'd you have to do that? Why'd you have to make her scary? You're telling people that they were right to, even though she never did anything, they were right to be afraid of her. And that's the part that breaks my heart.
I think that whole movie in general suffers from because as for all the checklist things, you gotta get that little checklist. The funny thing with it is not just, this is also both Hollywood and low budget filmmakers have this problem, where instead of having, that's right. Instead of having, because a spectrum or the autism thing where it's just like all over and you can't really classify it, they try to classify it. So you just have we got the kid who is she's mute, she acts weird, erratically, she does get along. Although this time she's a girl instead of a boy, so I guess they missed that trademark or check mark. Got all these little check marks, and then of course you got to have the sinister, and she has to be obviously she's the changeling, and then the ending kind of like, okay, so there's something up with her. Oh, and then like, okay, that's just kind of cheap. I was not entertained or interested or didn't care for the film at all. I wasn't invested to begin with, and it just kind of.
I was, but like I said, we're not talking about whether or not these films are entertaining.
I know. I'm just saying for me, the Daisy Chain, it's a lot of them are just so, the quality of the film is dependent upon that character. For me personally, especially when it came to Daisy, because despite, it's mostly focused on the mother, but it's so focused on that character that I can't really separate. It's like the quality of the movie is synonymous with how the character is portrayed. So it's so poorly written. And then
I think Mike's trying to say something though.
Oh yeah, Mike.
It could, if it was like the start of a franchise, like the town had treated her so harshly that she started seeing that the only way she could live with these people was to be that creepy or something like that. If it was part of a statement like that, I could definitely get behind that last 5 seconds of that movie, but but outside of that, it sounds like a half decent movie, especially with their interpretations. Some of their interpretations.
I think it's interesting that you said this. Someone also mentioned Halloween Kills in the chat, and I think that's another one that deals really well with mass hysteria. But yeah, Halloween Ends kind of does that with the character of Corey. You can only, and they tell you with when you're parenting too, or even raising animals, do not call your child bad, or eventually they're going to be like, you know what, I'm bad, I'm all these horrible things, I'm just going to do it. I can't win anyway. A lot of people will react that way. And so I think you're right. I think there might be something to that. Them saying that she's evil, she's a changeling, and she's like, you know what, I guess I am. I can't help what I am. I think that happens in Halloween Ends with the character of Corey. They keep treating him like a psychopath, and eventually he acts like one. So I do think that's a really good point.
But if it's just a standalone movie by itself, then it sounds like what you guys were saying, that she was actually creepy, and she may have been doing something, not that things that she was accused of, but something else in the background.
I took it as like kind of forgiving the audience. Like, I think the movie does a good job of making you do something you don't want to do, which I feel like in the movie that she's not doing it, but they keep making you suspect her. And then at the end of the movie, it's like, no, but she is creepy. So it doesn't matter if she didn't kill anybody. It's okay that you thought she was creepy. You're fine. Yeah. You're fine. And I don't think that's okay.
Yeah, no. But anything else? Because I don't think much to say. I already said my piece about the movie.
Oh, I'm sorry. What else did you want to say?
And I should say is that, I think, I'm guessing that's different, but that's me for the daisy chain.
What else did you want to say?
I didn't want to say. I was just saying, what are some other? Do you have any other examples or?
Other examples. One I wanted to talk about. Did you see I Know You're in There? I
have not.
That one, again, you don't need to see it. She's mute. She must be evil. She's evil. One it kind of bums me out about is Caroline and Chucky. I think they never outright say she has autism. They do say she's dealing with stuff. But she has a pretty big part in the first season. There's one part that I really liked, where Chucky's like, yeah, so they're watching a movie. He's like, I'm gonna go kill your sister, okay? And she's like, she just goes back to watching her movie. Like, I don't know how to react to this, so I'm just not gonna.
I mean, to be fair though, you could potentially excuse as she was being distracted, so she didn't quite process
That's
what
how I took
Chucky
it.
was saying.
That's, to me, that being around people who are autistic, I took that as being, she's watching the movie right now. She's not really, she doesn't know how to, she can't process him and the movie at the same time. It's too much. But it's kind of funny in that it's like, that was the
doll that was saying that?
The doll. Well,
Chucky.
she's also talking to a killer doll. But season 2, it kind of is a bummer where it is revealed that, she's a psychopath. So.
I haven't watched season 2. I've only watched season 1. So
it's not as cut and dry as I'm trying not to spoil anything. But you could also say, you could say with children in general, they're easily manipulated, especially when they don't have parents there.
I mean, that's not too.
Kid. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, that's not too shocking considering how the characters, most of the kid characters, especially Lexa and Lexi. I figured, Lexi. Is that her name?
The older sister, yeah.
Alexa and Jake are written. That's not too shocking. They went that route with the character because they're both both Jake. I mean, Jake's a bit more sympathetic than Lexa, but they're both pretty unsympathetic for the most part. I could not care. The series was fine. It was just those two characters were kind of a hurdle to get through for me.
Yeah, that makes sense. I do think it's a really good show, though. I really love that show. Did you like it?
It was fine.
Okay, so now we can get past the negativity. I think we've gone down that rabbit hole enough, and we've also been talking a long time, and I know you guys need, probably have other stuff to do. I have a couple questions I want to ask you guys, though. One of them I want to ask you is, do you think autistic actors should play autistic characters? To name a few, there are actually some great autistic actors: Dan Aykroyd, Daryl Hannah, and Jerry Seinfeld. Oh, and
Hey,
Anthony Hopkins.
I think, honestly, especially with Anthony Hopkins, I mean, if you got the talent to play autistic, then you should play autism, and you should make the effort to try and get people who actually have it to play it.
Yeah.
But I can certainly understand, like, especially some of the lower budget ones, if they're forced to, either, but they should definitely try and tone it down.
Yeah.
What do you think,
Especially-
Arkham?
For me, in that kind of regard, I do think that we should be more on we should have more actors that have autism in general. But then again, I don't know. I'm not really. I have a very weird relationship with Hollywood. I like, again, movies are great. I love films. I'll watch, but it's just like they're not gonna care. I think the low budget stuff is, in my eyes, the more priority, because that's like low budget, micro budget, no budget is made by the people. So it hurts a bit more, a lot more, when it does that, when those movies are fatal. Because I'm not expecting Dreamcatcher, for instance, to do it. I'm not expecting Dreamcatcher to be good, because it was terrible. But if it's like something like Haunting Inside or Mummy Reborn's a product. Some of these, like, I think it's part of the system of low budget stuff now. It's where it's just churning out films. Like, again, the Scott Jeffrey thing. So they don't really know what they're doing. They probably do, but it's just like, oh, it's something we saw, let's just get it over with. And it kind of comes off as a bit insulting. And so I do think a part of it is script writing and acting, both. But acting, I think we should have more autistic actors. We should be more willing to do this rightly, not just, well, let's take a bunch of plot lines from other films and who cares kind of approach, even though I feel like a hypocrite because I keep watching these Scott Jeffrey film
You
productions.
love those
anyway,
cheap
so.
movies. That's your bread and butter, buddy.
But I think
And that's okay.
Be probably far more important to have more autistic writers.
I actually was going to get to that. My personal take on it, I think it's great. Though I have read some autistic actors saying that they would feel like people would be like, well, you're not really acting, you're just being yourself. And that's why a lot of some autistic actors who said they don't want to. And I think they should do whatever feels good for them. But I agree with you. I think the better thing is autistic filmmakers, writers, and directors. You know, because then you can tell someone, no, you're doing it wrong. Or no, this is how it's written. Do it this way. Dial it back. Filmmakers. Tim Burton is autistic. Stanley Kubrick. And David F. Sandberg. I would love to see all of them tackle that material.
Well, yeah, but Stanley Kubrick is also renowned for kind of torturing people.
Yeah, well, Stanley Kubrick is not around anymore. But it does make a lot more sense when you think about it. Like, he's
also, to be fair to him, I don't think he can direct now. So
he's dead.
Yeah.
But what about like Tim Burton? I actually think you could potentially read Wednesday Addams as possibly being autistic, and you know he's making that Wednesday show right now. I would love to see him actually do a straight up autistic lead character in something. I think he would do it.
I haven't seen Wednesday.
Absolutely. They would have my money.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't seen. Sorry, I keep interrupting. But
it's okay. We have siblings. We're okay.
I just always like to, Yeah. So
you're doing great.
I haven't seen Wednesday, but then again, I haven't seen anything Addams Family related at all. So
we should watch them together. You and me. Let's do it. Discord
we could,
or something.
Yes.
Hang out more. Okay, so now I want it to be positive, breaking the tropes, the movies that we think are doing it right in some way or another. By the way, hello, Lion Queen. I know one that's really important. Also, movies you guys recommend or movies that you connect with. I know one that's near and dear to you is Curse of the Puppet Master, right?
Yes, in fact, I own a Blu-ray of it.
Yes,
Curse of the Puppet Master has problems, mainly due to this film being made when Paramount decided to pull out a full moon, so half of the almost all the effects had to be stock footage. But this one has an interesting kind of thing where ostensibly the character of Tank. Oh, well, his nickname's Tank. This is his actual name.
Knight, do you mind if I interrupt you really quickly for a second?
Sure.
Noodle Pasta made a really good point. Wearing a mask, you might be really hot and uncomfortable. It's okay if you want to take it off.
No, I'm fine. I'm
Okay.
fine. I have no issues with this. I had this thing up in the entirety of Comic-Con.
Are you uncomfortable?
No. I'm
Okay.
fine. I just have to vent a bit, but I like having the mask on.
Whatever makes you happy.
But yeah, no, with this, the main character, Earl says Robert, aka Tank, he's hired by McGrew to, make this wood puppet, even though the puppet he ends up making is robotic. Don't think about that too long. And he kind of gets sucked into the puppet by McGrew through unspecified means, because again, this film was kind of rushed out a bit. But and
I think you cut out, bud.
Blade. What?
I think you cut out. I'm sorry.
What part did I cut out?
You're talking about him making the puppets and has electronic. You're talking
Oh
about
yeah,
Tank,
no.
right?
Even though okay. So basically, Tank befriends Blade and Tunneler and Jester and Pinhead and Leech and Six Shooter and all of them. And then when McGrew sucks him into the puppet, they kind of view that as kind of the thing where you have basically the autistic character being protected or saved by the horror icon taking revenge on it, which I always found kind of interesting, and that's why this one stood out in particular. Especially when you have that into perspective, it makes it a lot better, more interesting to me. But yeah, no.
I think it's really good because, like I said before, he's a main character, and I understand what you're saying with the character. Like, it's cool, like because we love the puppets and Puppet Master, we love them, and it's cool to see somebody like you get to be friends with them. I think that's like I will stand by it forever, guys. I love Texas Chainsaw 3D just because I love Leatherface. It's a character I sympathize with, since I first saw the movie, and getting to see someone be his cousin and. It's just like, oh, that's pure fit. I would love that. So I get that, she's a girl. She's like me. She's kind of gothy. It's like, wow, to be Leatherface's cousin. I think that's like what you're saying it is for you, right? Like, here's this character with autism like you, and he gets to be buddies with the puppets.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's for me.
Another one I think is Trick or Treat. There's a segment where a girl has autism. She is the main character of that segment.
Yeah. I think it's a decent representation. I know some people had issue with her abandoning those kids, but
Mike's like, yeah, but
clearly it's meant to make her to a scary threat. Clearly that's what they're trying to do.
That's a good point. What did you think of Cruel Summer? Now, Cruel Summer is one that was based on a true story that happened in Sheffield, England. It's actually based on a few different stories. That one's really hard to watch. I don't recommend it unless you guys really have a strong constitution. But it's about 3 teenagers who they brutally kill a young autistic boy who's camping. I had a hard time with it. I do think it shows it does show how ordinary kids can do something so horrible, so absolutely horrible, because of peer pressure, because of all these other things going on with them, and how it can start from something small and become really big. And maybe the good of it is to, when you see something like this amongst people, like, stop it before it rolls into this big avalanche. But for me, it was a really hard watch.
Yeah.
I couldn't watch that one.
I don't recommend it. It's hard.
It's not a bad representation of the character. I just think it was really dull and really poorly paced.
You like My Guardian Angel? Wait, actually, Mike, do you have any? I keep interrupting you guys and coming up with more movies, but what do you have, Mike?
Okay, this is gonna be really. Honestly, I think the producers and the director and whoever else made this film really needs to be prosecuted.
Oh no!
But Shark Exorcist.
Oh God, I was avoiding talking about that one.
As much as I hate it, there's only one scene that's even worth discussing, as far as I'm concerned, is when one of the girls is trying to seduce the other one, and she's sending all these signals, like, but the other girl can't even comprehend it. That's like, I was like, that was the only part of the movie that I was like, oh my god, that's so me in high school.
Oh my! I'm glad
So,
you
ostensibly a.
but you
I thought you were
connected
gonna
the
say you're a
Shark Exorcist. That movie now has some value. I thought that movie had no value, but now I stand corrected.
talking about.
No,
Oh, sorry.
but honestly, yeah, they need to be prosecuted.
No, but that I do
The
like
other
that.
amazing.
I like that you were able to connect to something in it because I think any movie usually has some value to it, and yeah, that's pretty eye opening. Thank you.
I thought you were going to mention the amazing scene where the one girl, where she's even. I was you were mentioning the two jokes. Where that same autistic girl's like wandering around in a that was it that play? I forgot what it is, but she was on. I forget you would have mentioned that. Or having seizures on towels, which
The seizures on top. Oh no.
towels. It's a joke that letter media made about it. It's well, most Donald has this weird fetish with that, and it's always prominent. But yeah, no.
Yeah, that one. When you have a shark chasing people to hunt down in a hot tub or a pool, it has issues, to say the least. But yeah, that little scene of that one girl trying to seduce the other one is just.
Exorcism sucked. Sorry, Mike.
Hey, Dan.
Say hi to the
Mike,
boys.
How you doing, guys?
Hello.
Awesome backgrounds. Love it.
For which one?
Both of you.
Oh, thanks.
I like your bumblebee.
Oh yeah, the Bumblebee poster.
Yeah.
Over
I like your figures.
there. What fell? Oh, wonderful. You two again. You two, Phil. That's beautiful.
I like toys and books. Mike, you gonna come over for Royal Rumble again this year?
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah, Mike
Put
lives in the
$10 in.
same town as I, so I don't. It's despite the fact that everyone thinks I'm extroverted because I do these live streams and stuff. I'm actually horribly introverted, and Mike is one of a handful of friends who actually comes over to my house.
I will say that in high school, trying to get her to talk was a nightmare.
This is
Just
true.
yeah, but still, it was well worth it.
They should have
But,
tried talking to me about horror movies. That does it.
Sorry. But no, I just wanted to bring out that that one scene was just go watch the reviews of it for that one scene, and that's all you need out of that movie.
I just say watch the reviews, and that's all you'll get out of it. Don't be like me and think it's a cool idea to watch the whole movie. So
yeah, I know.
I blame Movie Massacre for making me watch that one. So I did him one better. I made him watch Sharkula.
What is that?
We need to do a whole Killer Sharks movie stream someday. Especially
I've got a bunch of killer shark movies.
I know you do. I want to. I know. If you guys have to go, please let me know. I don't want to keep you here. I know it's running so long. My Guardian Angel is a really good one, though. I do think the parents were done really poorly in that one. But she is a main character, and I think, I know you like that one.
Yeah.
I want to talk about one not a lot of people have seen, but I actually think it does one better than a lot of these movies because the theme is about autism too. And it's something that we've been talking about here. It's called House by the Lake. Not a lot of people have seen it. It is fairly low budget, but the little girl who's the main character does a brilliant job. She was also in my best friend's Exorcism recently. But essentially her and her parents go to this like house by the lake. She starts seeing like a Gilman creature there, and she's telling them everything they need to know. She's telling them I have a friend. She's telling them I think maybe I should go. Because they constantly fight about her autism and how to get her better help and how to fix her and how to do this to fix her. And it's stressing her out. And she just wants to go live with her friend. And if they would just stop for 2 flipping seconds and listen to her, they would know what's going to happen. And the movie is essentially, horror movies are all kind of cautionary tales. And that's what this movie is. This movie is saying you need to accept the people you love who might be different than you for who they are, or you will lose them.
I haven't
Yeah,
seen that
that's a
one,
good-
but
I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was really good. I highly recommend that one for positive autism representation
I
and
need
in
to
a low
write
budget
that one
movie.
down.
I thought it was really, really good. And yeah, as far as what happens, I feel like, yeah, they had it coming.
Good.
Another one. Okay, the character is never said to have autism, and I may be completely off base here. Like I said, I can be wrong, and if I'm wrong, please tell me. I read the janitor in Willy's Wonderland as having autism, and I think he is our first official autistic badass in a movie, played by Nicolas Cage. What do you guys think of this?
That sounds awesome.
Have you seen it?
I have not, but Nicolas Cage is one of my favorite actors.
Oh, I want you to see it, and I want you to tell me your. Okay, so I'll tell you enough. But okay, essentially the character has a really nice car. A lot of autistic people, again, not all of them, a lot of them have some kind of a fixation. I would say his car is his. He loves his car. He drives into a town, his tires get blown out, and he never speaks a word in the whole movie. His tires get blown out, he hands his card over to the guy, and he's like, nope, only takes cash. And he's like, the guy's like, here's what you can do. You can work it off. You can work basically at Five Nights at Freddy's for the night, clean up the place, and then, you know, we'll exchange that for your car. But it is Five Nights at Freddy's, and what they've really done is they blasted his car on purpose so that they can sacrifice him to these things. What they don't know is he is not like everybody else they've done this to, and every time one of those stupid animatronics tries to beat him up, he just kicks their ass. Now, here is the part to me reads as autistic. That makes me think of people I know who have autism. He's very adamant. Okay, he brings his purple sodas in. He is very adamant about his breaks. When he gets a break, he goes right then. And every break, he works a little bit on cleaning up this ping pong table. And eventually he gets to play it. But he is fighting these animatronics, trying to save this girl. And then his watch goes off. It's time for his break. He hands her the knife and he leaves. Because it's time for his break.
Yes, that is very much.
Autistic people
Yes.
tend to have a routine that they stick to, you know, and if it's
Yes.
break time, it's time to go. It's nothing personal, but it's time to go to break.
Yeah, otherwise that creepy anxiety or the bees start getting louder and louder until you get that break and they'll go off.
You have to see this. You're going to love it so much.
All right.
Another
just-
one that I think is a great example is that I know Arkham, you really liked it, was Come Play.
which one? Which one was it
Come
again?
play?
Come Play?
Oh,
Oh, no, Arkham, I think you're frozen.
come, yeah. What
I think you're good now.
about the monster? Yeah.
Hmm.
Wanted to be the kid's friend. Yeah, no, I like that one a little bit. It could have been better, a lot better, but I liked it.
So Come Play, I mean, honestly, as a movie, like I said, I try to separate these things. I thought the movie was pretty mediocre. It kind of borrowed pretty heavily from Dark Water, but I do think the depiction of autism was pretty good. I like that the kid is largely, the movie's told a lot from his point of view. So even though he's nonverbal, we understand what the kid wants, and he wants a friend. He actually uses a device to communicate with people, and he gets like a game and becomes friends with like a creature. You know, for depiction of autism alone, I think that's a good one. Though, like I said, I'm not crazy about the movie. One I really like, and again, not mentioned as autistic in the movie, but is the movie Nope. OJ reads, as far as I'm concerned, autistic, and Jordan Peele has kind of confirmed that too. OJ doesn't look people in the eyes. That's why he's really good with the horses. And he tells them, you know, do not look the animal in the eye. You're going to agitate it. And there's just one part where his sister, who a lot of people read as having ADD, is flitting around the room, and he's just like, please God help me, but he can't say it. Another part is when his father dies in the very beginning of the movie, a lot of people would run and scream and stuff, and he just kind of is looking at it, and he's concerned. You can tell he's concerned, but he's expressing it in a very different way. He's overwhelmed, and so he's shutting down a little bit. Have you guys seen Nope, and what did you guys think of it?
Last night. and I loved it.
No.
He saw the majority of it, and he liked what he saw of it. Yeah.
I didn't see it.
I think you should see it. It's really good. Um,
Nope.
So, what do we want to see in the future from horror movies depicting autistic characters?
Real quick, does anybody else remember the movie Poltergeist?
Yes.
What do you think of the little girl, Caroline?
I don't know. For me, Poltergeist, I read it probably a lot different than you. The real life actress, she died in the middle of part 3 because she has the same condition that my son has. So I've always looked at it a lot different. But no, I haven't thought about that. What about?
I thought you could mention the one movie I really was talking about. Another Me.
Oh, Another Me. Yes. Let me finish up what he's saying about Poltergeist, and then I want to talk to you about Another Me. Okay?
Yeah.
Poltergeist was done.
When it comes to like Caroline, a lot of times that she doesn't express herself very well, and so oftentimes she's kind of like just screaming when things are happening around her, while her brother Bobby's like, "Oh, Nike! Oh shit! What do I gotta do?" And he's like yelling for mom and dad and that kind of stuff, and she's just like frozen her stuff. I could kind of see how she could be considered autistic, especially since she doesn't vocalize what's going on very well. But
I think those are good points.
And the fact that she can notice that the house is haunted I guess haunted. The house is haunted way before anybody else does, and they're only willing to talk to her. I mean, magic power maybe, but I would think of it as she's just noticing things that the other people aren't, because of, things are out of the way. But of course, it probably helps when they start putting the furniture upside down.
People who are autistic are really sensitive to sound and light and all that stuff, so she's going to notice differences in that stuff before anybody else does. So to me, that makes absolute sense. Like noticing how the TV's behaving strange. I know Arkham's favorite movie, right, my friend, is Another Me.
Yes.
And you read that lead character as autistic. Tell us about Another Me.
So basically, basically the character, I'm not going to spoil it, but the character of Faye is that,
you're cutting out a lot, buddy.
Oh, am I?
A little bit, yeah.
Hold on, let me cancel this out. All right. So basically, the character of Faye, she's just this awkward kind of like individual. She stutters, especially like in the theater scene. Because when she was singing. My brain's putty.
I've made you guys talk for like 2 hours, so it's my fault.
We had technical difficulties. We had to deal with.
I know. I'm so sorry for that, guys. I am so sorry. Hopefully you'll come back sometime. Give me another chance.
Absolutely.
So she's like kind of this like she's kind of like not really closed up. She does have friends. She's just awkward and overreacts. She's like obsessions with photos. She stutters, like especially in the scene, in the practice scene where I forgot his character's name. It's blank.
Like the love interesty one, right?
But John Interest is the guy from like Wizards of Waverly Place or whatever.
Yeah.
Richard has like some shady motivations. She's like stuttering throughout the entire thing, and he's like, oh, and you could, and it's like, oh, it seems like he cares and he's like compassionate, but then you kind of realize the motive for it later on. And I thought that was really interesting, especially with experiences. That's why I think the film worked. I'm not going to get into spoilers because
it does have a really cool twist. It deals with like doppelgangers and lots of stuff. I did include it on my list of autistic movies that represent autistic people in horror. Do really recommend that one. As far as some things that I think I would like to see just from doing this research and just being amazed at how poorly autism has been represented. we've talked at length for 2 hours about horrible representation. We have a handful that we're saying are good, and that makes me sad. You guys love horror, and I want you guys to be able to see more movies where you're like, I get that character because I see myself in them. I think a more full spectrum of autistic people. Not everybody who has autistic is nonverbal. And completely incapable of, like, you know, holding a conversation or something. There are people, it's a wide spectrum, and I think I would like to see more people across the spectrum.
Yeah.
Autistic main characters, more adult autistics, more female autistics, characters who are not defined by their condition but are fully developed and have wants and needs outside of it. What about you guys?
I'd like to see some people who would show the scenes of them managing it, that kind of stuff. You know, like, or some representation of what's going through their head.
You know what, Mike? Now that you say that, I watched this movie, which I thought was really good. It was not about autism, but it's about a girl who's a sociopath. And she sees a little girl who's been kidnapped, and she knows she saw it. But the trouble is she's not a sociopath. She's schizophrenic. My apologies. She's schizophrenic, so she can't trust what she sees because she sees stuff that's not there. And she has this list of things that she is taught to go through, like, can other people see it and stuff. But the way it got into her head, I was like, I get this. And I don't have schizophrenia, but I get this character. Mm-hmm. I think what you said is really important because I think we need a movie like that really gets inside the head of somebody who's autistic. So even if you don't have it, you're like, okay, I get this. This makes sense. You know? I think that's really good.
And, you know, I think a horror movie about that would be wonderful. Heck, I would put money into somebody making it.
I think that's amazing. I think it's brilliant. What about you, Arkham? Arkham, are you okay? You look so uncomfortable there.
No, fine. I'm just sometimes I have the dead stare thing. I'm
gonna share my super chats with you after this. I feel like I've put you through the ringer, both of you, technical difficulties and everything.
Oh, it's fine. Don't worry about that.
I've done worse. But
I'll make it up to you guys. I promise.
I have. If that's the case, then I have plenty of things I could probably make you watch.
All right, deal. You pick the next movie. And Mike, you live in town, so just come over for dinner some night. I'll make you fish and chips.
I really can't. Well, that'd be very possible. But yes, no. So basically, for me, it's kind of my thing is, and this is something that most movies I tend to have is respectable character. In personality and, like, you know, don't write them as a stereotype, write them as a character first and foremost. That's just my simple thing, and that's just apparently too hard for many filmmakers, but
it is. I mean, I sympathize just on the witch front, being a practicing witch. I just want a movie where there's a character who happens to be a practicing Wiccan, and it's not the point of the movie. She doesn't get evil or anything. She's just a practicing witch. Just make them a character who has autism, and it's not that they're the killer. They are just part of a group. I mean, and I think especially ensemble cast is a beautiful place to do that, you know? Yeah. I think Power Rangers did a good job making the Blue Ranger autistic. I think that was cool. So we have so many of these movies, like Scream movies especially, where there's a lot of characters.
They made a Power Rangers movie? No, just kidding.
You know, get some more autistic characters. I want autistic main characters. I do. But I also think in ensemble groups, you can have a character who's autistic, and the whole plot doesn't have to revolve around, you know, are they or are they not magic or evil, which tends to be what they are.
Yeah. I think that's an excellent point.
Yeah.
They just happen to have autism. I think Nope was great for that reason. Like, they don't come out and say it, but it's like he, to me, pretty clearly had autism. But aliens are happening right now. So let's move on. And actually his condition in that one, not making eye contact, is entirely what saved them. And it's how he was able to understand the creature. He's like, animals don't like it. I don't like it. You know, I thought it was really good. So I think that one's a good one. But yeah, representation is so important. I think all of us, we want to watch a movie and we want to feel like we're a part of it. And I want to ask you guys, after going through all these movies, for me as a young girl, it was movies that had young girls in them that I really connected to the most, like The Bad Seed. Not because I'm evil, but because I was a little girl and I felt represented in that movie. I didn't want to watch movies about adults. I wanted to watch movies about little girls in scary situations. Or even teenage girls like Tina in Friday the 13th Part 7. So you guys, as people who are autistic and with so many movies poorly representing it, were there movies that, what was that like? Like, how did you become horror fans despite that? Or were there movies that did make you feel seen and represented in a positive way?
The only way I got into horror movies was Evil Dead 2. Bruce Campbell, and it was a slow introduction to it, but I think he played it just right. But when it comes to like good representation, or first one I can remember, I don't know, the first horror movie that even had somebody I could vaguely relate to was Poltergeist. And then by the time I actually got really excited about that franchise, a little girl died.
Yeah.
So I have hope for the future, but just, the past.
I do want you to see Willy's Wonderland and Nope. I think you're going to like these movies. What about you though, Arkham?
For me, how I got into horror, I got into horror because of many things, but okay, so I just heard a noise. So basically, for me, it was walking into a Spirit Halloween and seeing like Michael and Freddy at like animatronics and looking them up, and then looking into the other or Jeepers Creepers or designs. I've always.
I was just saying, Jeepers Creepers. Where'd you get those peepers? Sorry, didn't mean to.
But yeah, no. So you have all those and like these characters, and then you have the. I think it's for me. I've always been a Creature fan, and like Creature and like characters with masks always look cool. So you have like ostensibly keep watching horror. I think the Alien Predator franchise was one. American Werewolf in London, the Kessler Wolf, the Puppets, and Michael, Laurie, and Pumpkinhead, and all those. And I collect the films, and I've been collecting them more and more often. But yeah, I have almost all the Halloween movies except for 3 of them. I don't have 4, 5, and ends yet on DVD/Blu-ray. But yeah, no, it's just something that I've always been into. I mean, yeah, the representation for autism has been poor. Will I like better? Yes.
Groovy.
That's awesome.
That doesn't mean I can't enjoy the films I have.
And I actually want to apologize because I thought about that. That is something, I thought about it as soon as I said it. There's a lot more to both of you than being autistic. So, absolutely you can relate to a character who's, you can relate to different things, I think it's awesome that you can watch Poltergeist and relate to it as her also having autism, but you can relate to it because somebody likes masks, or you can relate to just for lots of different things. So we're all so many things. But I want you guys to have that autistic representation because I think that is lacking.
Yeah. More variety.
Okay. You guys have been amazingly patient with me. You guys are saints. Saint Ariel, Saint Mike, and Saint Arkham. I am so grateful that you guys have joined me tonight. You guys had so many interesting things to say. You guys brought up so many great points. You guys really, it's been a pleasure so much. Please tell them where they can find you. Anyone in the chat who wants to stay in touch with you or follow what you're doing, where they can find you and what you're working on.
I'll be hanging on to Gory B Movie's tendrils.
I do have tendrils like Cthulhu.
Yeah,
so you never see me below the waist.
Generally, I keep her up to date. So something goes wrong in my life.
Can they follow you on Twitter? Is that okay?
Oh, they absolutely. It's Finn. It's MFinn MFINN 3333 4 3s.
I'm gonna try and find them a link to that real quick. Guys, I do have Arkham's links in the chat, but I will update it with Mike's Twitter so you can follow him. And Arkham, tell them where they can find you and what you're working on.
You can find me at various amounts of places. I have the Movie Collective thing, which is on the list. The server link is on the list. There's Discord. I'm on pretty active. When eventually I grow so old, if I grow so, including and my letterboxing to help me figure out what movies I've ever seen ever. And a YouTube, which I rarely use. I've been doing the more DVD multi-pack reviews, and I'm planning to do something else sooner or later, but I don't know for sure. But yeah, that's mainly where my main active, and there's a bunch of other accounts I use, but those are the main ones I use. And if you ever want to contact me the most or know what,
I highly recommend his Letterboxd. He reviews so many movies I haven't seen. Yeah, links are in the description. I will add Mike's in the description. I just posted Mike's in the chat. So stay in touch, guys. You know, we've been on a journey together. What I'm working on, I am working on my next Real versus Real that I'm writing now will be on, I know we're not allowed to say this on YouTube, so I'm going to say Powdered Sugar Bear. Powdered Sugar Bear. Real versus Real on that. And next week, you can join me on Sunday with Becky and Danny. We're going to be doing a fight night on the best Christmas horror movie. It's just a short list. There's a lot we're leaving out for next year, but we're going to argue which ones we think are the best. You guys vote on the winners, and then whichever one wins, the following week we're going to talk about. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Looking forward to hanging out with all of you in the Gory Hole. Huge thanks to all of you who came out and watched with us tonight. Ariel and Tatum, we need a girls' night soon, guys. And Mummy B Movie, Zigma, Fairpoint Station. A lot of you guys in the chat had so many great things to say. Jason Takes Omegals, Sandy Absolute, Dominic, I know you just got here. But yeah, thank you guys in the chat for being part of this discussion. And all of you for being just really, respectful and just having really great things to say. Noodle Pasta. It's been really great. And I'm so sorry I forgot to make new credits today, so they're outdated. But yeah, there will be credits with all the information and stuff there too. Guys, you want to sign out? However you prefer to sign out, or just say goodbye, or
Hasta la vista, baby.
Love it.
bye. See ya.
All right, and until we meet again, blessed be.